Sunday, January 13th, 2019, and welcome to Flicker Effect. This is episode 278. I'm David Lott. Joining me this episode is Bobby Jackson.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Yasha Wilson.
Hey, everybody.
And Michelle Hillard.
Hi, everyone. Hello.
What's up, guys?
Here.
It is
finally.
Here. It is
finally our top 10.
Our annual Top 10 Films of the Year episode. This episode, we will be talking about our top 10 films of 2018. And for those of you who have never heard one of these from us before, when I say that, each of us has our own list. So we will each be listing out our top 10 films of the year. Before we get to that, though, a couple things. First, just a little announcement. In the new year now, I just wanted to let everyone know that new episodes of this podcast, Flicker Effect, are now regularly going to be available on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. So we will be releasing an episode every week right at that time. So make sure to look out for that. And if you also listen to our other show, Spoiler Effect, which is a new show, we're only a few episodes in on that one. Those will be releasing on Sunday nights at 9 p.m., 6 p.m. Pacific. So look out for that as well. And for those of you that do listen to Spoiler Effect, I'll go ahead and apologize right now. In the midst of me prepping for this show, we have not seen any movies in the theater for like 2 weeks. So we have not released a Spoiler Effect in 2 or 3 weeks.
Movie theater. You're funny.
You mean you haven't seen the Escape Room or The Upside Down or The Upside, I think it's called?
No.
I have not. I have missed these films. I'm so sad.
There's been a lot of renting. There's been a lot of, is that on Hulu or is that on Amazon or is that on Netflix or is that on HBO? What can we get to without actually leaving the house?
I'll fill you guys in on those movies next week.
All right.
Ooh, cool.
I'm looking forward to it. But yeah.
But I'm sure we're all going to be watching Glass as well. So
yes, Glass. That I'll be seeing.
I still need to buy my tickets. I'm such a slacker.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll be releasing a Spoiler Effect soon. This is what I'm saying. Probably Glass. That'll probably be next. All right. Our list, top 10 films of 2018. Also, before we really get into it. So, yeah, for those of you who have never listened to this before, we keep our list private between each other. So we have not heard each other's lists before. So we'll be hearing these for the first time. If you're listening to this and worried we might talk about spoilers, don't worry. We're not going to drop any spoilers for any of these movies during the podcast, so don't worry about that. And then one thing I always like to say, if you're listening to this and wondering, wow, how did you not put this movie in your list or not put that movie in your list? Keep in mind, we love movies. We see a lot of movies. We have not seen everything. We don't do this for a living. This is a hobby for us. This is something fun that we do, and we don't make money doing this. So we have not seen every film out there. So keep that in mind as you listen to our list.
Is that why my check is late? Like, I'm confused. Like, it's been late
about 3 years.
4
Yeah,
years
I was
now.
going to say it's 4 years late.
About 3 or 4 years later. It got lost in the mail, man.
My check would then be 8 years late.
Yeah. You know, so real quick, I just want to say I love doing the top 10 show. I look forward to the top 10 show like all year long. Like, there's films that I see that I'm like, oh my God, I cannot wait to announce that that's going to be on my list. That's super happening. Like, I love the top 10 show until about like 10 to 24 hours before we record it. Because then I start stressing and I start freaking out about my list, and it's this big ball of stress. And I have to say, like, I know my ball of stress about it is even less than David's ball of stress because he does so much to produce this show. So anyways, but I love doing the top 10 show. I know you guys do too, but I love it. It's really fun.
You know, I figure between the four of us, I always think that David and Michelle probably have the hardest time putting their list together. One, like you said, because David's having to produce and do a lot of the stuff for the show on top of having to get your list together. But mostly it's because I think that with the amount of movies you guys get to see in a year, a lot of that gets crammed in towards the end of the year and into the beginning of the year before we do our show. So it becomes a lot more of a crunch to try and put everything together. Whereas luckily I get to see a lot of it as it comes out. And so when we start coming down to the end of the year, there's maybe a few movies I don't know because I haven't had a chance to see them because they're maybe in limited release. And so I don't get to see some of them. But for the most part, I pretty much can have a consistent, at least good 15 or 20 movies that I'm going to dwindle down just because I think I've had more time to sit with them. And so they've kind of either I can reflect back on them and have a clear head in terms of where my list would go to. But with you guys, it seems like it would probably be harder just because you're watching so many in a row and then trying to think, well, how did that hit me and how did that, feel and how does it sort of make a lasting impression to where I want to, one, put it on my list and then two, where exactly will it land on my list?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Like, for those who don't know, like I every year I have not gotten out of this routine, but because I don't get to see as many movies in the theater throughout the year, I cram in a bunch of movies right at the end of the year before we do this. And this year, I didn't think to count before we started, but I think I watched 8 or 9 films.
Yeah, it's about what you average.
Something like that within a few days. And
that's about what you usually average each year.
And in one respect, it's a lot of fun. Actually, I always look forward to this 1 week or two where I start to do this because even if I'm watching a bunch of movies and a lot of them don't end up actually on my top 10, they are all at least good movies.
Yeah,
they are. I'm picking the movies I'm cramming in because they've all been highly rated. They're maybe popping up on other people's top 10 lists. So I get this week or two where I'm just watching a bunch of really great films. And in that respect, I always love this because I'm like, man, this is fantastic. Like, I love watching all these good movies at once. But then, yeah, you're right. Like, I don't get to kind of sit with them for a while. Like, I watch one really good film and I'm like, oh, that was great. And I'm jumping right into the next one. And then, then we're recording this and it's only been maybe a couple days, or in the case of some movies, like I watched my last film last night and I've had maybe not even 24 hours at this point to really think about it. So yeah, I get what you're saying, that it's tough to think about where these movies that I've only seen so recently, where they kind of stick in my list or if they should be in my list at all. It's yeah, I don't know. It's tough. With that, I was going to ask everybody really quick, what did you guys think of this year in terms of movies, like in general? Like, did you feel like it was a good year for movies, or a so-so year, or a great year? Michelle, what'd you think?
It was funny. I think you and I kind of sort of in a way talked about this, sort of kind of like, I will say I actually as a whole, I feel this year was a little weaker than the last 2 years in film. I would have to say. I think 2016, 2017 had really good years. This year was, and don't get me wrong, there are good films out there this year. I just feel like it might not have been as strong as in the past. And this is the conversation you and I had, that as weird as it is, I actually had kind of a hard time this year writing my list for the first time. Like I wrote down about 15, 16 movies and that was it. And usually I write it down, it's like in the 20s without me really even having to refresh and look at this big long list of this one website we look at. And this year I had to go through it like 6 times just to get up to 15 or 16 movies to then kind of edit into my list. So I'm not saying it was a bad year. I just feel like I don't feel like this was as strong of a year or just so in my face of a year as in the past it has been. Right.
Yasha, how about you? What did you think of 2018?
Actually, I can echo what Michelle said there. Like when I was going through the list, I'm usually in the 20s or high teens as well as to like what my favorites were. And I was kind of struggling with like, oh, well, I liked it, but it was okay. Like it wasn't necessarily, oh my God, this movie was amazing. But I remember going through it and I'm just like, man, I kind of wrote down some of the movies that I wish I had seen, which is a few that I just like, I really, really wanted to see. I just don't have a lot of time to do it. But I was just kind of taken back by like how many movies that I hadn't seen and how many movies that didn't really stand out to me that I was like, I don't even need to talk about that. like that kind of thing. It did seem kind of a little lackluster or a little waning, if you will, when it comes to the amount of movies that I really, really enjoyed.
Bobby, what'd you think?
I think I liked this year in compared to past, or at least last year. There just felt like within this year, a lot of the big blockbusters that I was looking forward to landed well with me, as opposed to in I think last year and maybe some other years where there were some disappointments with those big blockbusters. The more mid-budget movies or the ones that you might look to see whether they were Oscar nominated, I felt like it was strong for those as well. There was a lot of good ones within this past year that I got a chance to see. And I thought just from the aspects of having some of the other streaming services adding in their mix into it as well seemed like a good thing. With you had Roma coming out on Netflix, and I don't know if Amazon put out anything this year that was in contention. Doesn't seem like it, but just in general, there just seemed like there was a lot more stronger movies that I ended up watching this year that I really was just happy with. Whether they made my list or not, I just remember having a good experience seeing those movies in the theater compared to last year. And I think I honestly saw more movies this year than I did last year. And I saw a good amount last year. Well, for 2017. For 2018, we had the introduction of the Movie Pass, and also with the AMC A-list, and that helped me to go see a lot more movies than I would have normally seen anyway. So yeah, I really did feel pretty good about this year and the movies that came out.
And then, yeah, and I can't help but echo what somebody I've heard on another podcast, the way he put it. And Bobby, I know you heard this as well, but I just thought he put it perfectly as soon as I heard him say it. Peter Soretta over at Slash Film Daily, he had said, like, the way he looked at it, and again, when he said this, I was like, exactly, this is how I feel. Like, this movie felt like there were only really like a couple movies, and I'll say this right now, like my 1 and 2 on my list, I definitely love those two films. Those are like 5-star films for me. But I have a crap ton of other movies that I really liked, and I feel like that's how this year was. There was a plethora of like 4-star films, or if you want to say 4.5-star films. Like movies that, yeah, they weren't perfect for me, but they were really good films. And I felt like there were a lot. And thus, like when I put my list together this year, it was like I had 20 films that I was like, these are all very good movies. And the order was like, I guess I'll put it in this order.
See, that's how I feel most years. I'm like, oh, it's so hard.
Other than really my top 2, maybe 3, but other than that, all really great films, and I'm very happy to have them on my list. But there weren't a lot of movies that really blew me away. And there have been years where we've had like a Birdman and a Whiplash in the same year, and I was just like, oh my God. And then a couple others that were just like, man, these are really great. When this year, I feel like there weren't a lot that I was just like, man, that is the standout number one. That's kind of where I am with this year.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, I think that's enough yapping about.
Let's get down to business.
Let's get down to business. So let's get to our list. Before the podcast off air, we have already decided an order.
We didn't decide anything.
We didn't decide. The Bowl of Destiny decided an order. And Bobby, you were chosen first. So Bobby Jackson, what is your number 10 film of 2018?
My number 10 film of 2018 is going to be Solo, A Star Wars Story. And the reason why I had this at my number 10 was because when this movie came out, it was still one of the things where a lot of us were saying, why is there a Han Solo movie? We don't want this. But suffice it to say, I saw the movie and just really had fun with it. I thought that Ron Howard did a really good job in terms of having to pick up the pieces of where Lord and Miller left off, and the amount of reshoots that had to happen, and to still have something that came out that just felt like a fun adventure movie. There was there was issues with it that I could find. With Alden Ehrenreich, I thought he did okay, fine as Han Solo, but it was just a lot of the things around him that I really enjoyed. That it was made me want to see more. There's something that happens towards the end of the movie where it kind of leaves you like, wow, okay, they could go into another direction if they were to do a sequel. And it was just some of those elements that really, to me, solidified actually saying, okay, I'm glad they actually made this movie, and I would like to see more if they were so inclined to tell more. But obviously, we know where it landed in the box office, and there's been a general halt on telling these Star Wars stories for now, and so it doesn't look like we'll get more. But I really hope that they at least continue this thread that they left in Solo somewhere else, whether it's comics or audio or in the books or whatever, that they do something else with it, because I really found that intriguing the way it ended off. But that is my number 10 for 2018, Solo.
Nice. All right, Yasha, the Bold chose you next. So, Yasha, what is your number 10 film of the year?
My number 10 is going to be Creed 2. I thought that was a really fun movie. I enjoyed it a great deal. Michael B. Jordan was fantastic as always, but seeing Rocky and Drago up on screen again really caught me in the feels, as if you would say. I thought it was a really nostalgic moment and a lot of fun just to see these characters and how much they really just still don't like each other. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. I know it's my list is going to be all over the place this year, and I know you guys are going to react that way, but I didn't know what to put sometimes, so I decided to put Creed 2 as my number 2 because I thought it was a fun movie, and I really definitely genuinely enjoyed it.
All right, that's a movie I still have not seen. That I haven't seen the first one, so
I'm in the same boat, and and not for not wanting to.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely want to see both of them.
Very quickly clarify, not for not wanting to.
All right, well, the Bold chose me next. So for me, my number 10 film of the year is Bad Times at the El Royale. I'm getting a look from Michelle.
That is a lot lower than I thought that film was going to be on your list.
Oh,
wow.
God, I still really want to see that movie.
Man, I thought that was going to be a good mid-ranger for you.
Oh.
Jeez, wow.
Yeah, that's my number 10. Bad Times at the El Royale, written and directed by Drew Goddard, who previously directed Cabin in the Woods, also show creator for Daredevil over on Netflix. It was, as I mentioned when we reviewed it, it was hard not to, strike comparisons between that and Tarantino films. And as a Tarantino fan, of course, like I was a fan of that. I don't know. The movie just had like a really great mixture of mystery style, really great performances. I don't know. I really loved the film. So Bad Times at the El Royale, that's my number 10 film of the year. Sorry to disappoint you.
I really still wanted to see that.
I mean, it's not disappointing. It was just more surprising. I thought you really, I remember when you first reviewed it, you were very happy with this film. And so I guess I just assumed it was going to be more of a like a 6, a 7 or a 6, maybe even a 5 for you. So I'm really surprised that that's a 10. So now I'm like, whoa, what's the rest of his list have in store? And it's funny because I think about your guys' list too. I was telling David earlier, I was like, bet you somebody's going to have Solo. And I knew that Bobby probably would. And then I also had a very, very strong feeling that Yasha was going to pick Creed 2 in his list. I was like, oh man, I'm good at this now. I know you boys pretty well.
You know us, huh?
I can't wait to hear what they think of later on.
I would like you to write on a piece of paper what you think my number 1 movie is.
I was going to say, I know you guys fairly well, but I don't know, exactly how your minds work. But it was just funny. Like, I was just like, I have a 98% pretty sure Yasha's picking Creed 2 somewhere in there. And then at least Bobby, if not both of you, would have Han Solo in your list. And so it's funny that you guys started this out with that. I was looking at David going, oh, I called it.
We should do that sometime. Maybe next year we should all write down some
predictions.
Small list of kind of what is for sure in somebody's list. Maybe not guess entirely because that's a lot, but just kind of like maybe center it down and
like
say
5 or
you know,
6 or
hey,
something somewhere on the list. Yeah, it would
top
be
5
funny.
or something like that.
Right.
That would be funny.
So yeah,
Well,
Bad Times at the El Royale, I was just gonna say, is also, it's a movie I just feel like in the mixture of this year just feels like it did not get nearly the amount of attention it deserved.
I will agree with that.
And that bums me out. And I hope there are people listening to this, like you're saying, Yasha, you're like, oh wow, you know, that was a movie I really wanted to see. I hope there's other people like, oh yeah, like I forgot about that, because I feel like a lot of people did. They just it came and went. I don't think it got much attention, and I really stress, like, it's a good watch. Definitely go see that movie, or rent it, buy it, whatever.
I think it's out now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's out on video now.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, Michelle, the bowl chose you last. So what is your number 10 film of 2018?
I'm looking forward to the reaction from this one.
Oh, this is going to be good.
All right, ready? My number 10 for 2018 is A Star is Born.
I started writing this song the other day. Maybe that could work, like as a chorus or something. I'm off the deep end. Watch as I dive in. I never meet the ground. Crash through the surface where they can't hurt us. We're far from the shallow now.
Can I tell you a secret?
I think you might be a songwriter.
But don't worry, I won't tell anybody. But I'm not very good at keeping secrets.
Wait, what kind of reaction were you expecting?
Yeah, what were you expecting?
I don't know. I just thought you guys were going to be like, really? That film? But anyways, never mind.
I know you
So-
like that film.
I did. I enjoyed. Okay, so A Star Is Born is my number 10, and I really enjoyed it. I thought you guys were gonna be like, what, that PO? Anyways,
It's a pretty popular movie.
it is popular. I know. No, I really enjoyed it. It's one of those stories that is known and is slightly predictable, but I don't know. I really like this. I guess this version of this storyline, and I really enjoyed Bradley Cooper in it. I thought Gaga did pretty good for her first out. It was really more her singing performance for me than it was her acting performance in this. And, she wrote a lot of the songs that are in this film. I think the music is amazing. I don't know. It was a lovely film to sit and watch and just kind of have envelop you. But it didn't feel forced, which is what I kind of liked. I like that the pacing didn't feel forced. It just kind of rolled into its own story and did what it was doing. And that was just kind of nice. It was a refreshing film for me. And I will say I'm very hard, and I don't really put this film in that category per se, but it's very hard for me. I'm very picky when it comes to like chick flicks or like flicks that I think I sit down with when I just want to be girly on a night and like, have tea and be all snuggly in a blanket. Like this is definitely falls into one of those films that I would go back to over the years and do that with. So yeah, no. And I will say that film, like if the last performance of the last song in that film, the first time you watch it does not give you goosebumps or raise the hairs on the back of your neck just a little bit, man, I don't know how you can, I don't know what it would take to move you emotionally, because it was crazy powerful. And if anything, that film was spectacular just for that last performance. So,
All right.
yeah, Star is Born.
Star is Born, your number 10 film. Going back to you, Bobby, what was your number 9 film of 2018?
So, David, my number 9 is the same as your number 5, so I guess I'll have to wait.
Oh, God, don't do that to me, man.
I'm kidding.
Oh.
It's
Sorry.
It's
I have to explain the inside joke now, because Michelle is giving me this perplexed look. There are certain other shows that And I think probably a lot of other top 10 people. Top 10 shows are the thing now. Everyone's doing a top 10 show. And there are definitely a lot of other shows I've noticed where if they all know their list ahead of time and each other's list ahead of time, and say like he just did, like say his number 9 film was my number 5, he would wait so that since I liked it apparently more, I would get the chance to then, we would all discuss the movie then.
Oh, no, that's stupid.
And I find it to be really bad radio. I hate it.
No, that's stupid. I want to say my piece. I want you to say your piece at your time.
I actually called Bobby the other day driving to rant about this because I was listening to a show that was doing this and it was driving me up the wall. And I text Bobby. I'm like, Bobby, are you at work? Can you take a phone call? I need to talk to someone. Anyway,
the anger level is rising.
Oh God, I don't know why it bothers me so much.
It's so funny.
I felt like I had to throw that in there, but no, my number 9 for 2018 is Michelle's number 10, A Star Is Born, and I have to echo a lot of what she said. I agree with her sentiments, and the thing for me that really connected me to the movie is just this dichotomy that is shared between Bradley Cooper as his star is falling, Lady Gaga's star is rising, and seeing them trying to maneuver a relationship through that kind of quagmire is compelling, because how do you not start to resent that person for starting to get the things and reach and achieve a level to where you were once at, and you're sort of in a making of your own mess. But nevertheless, it's still this love story that's at the center of this. And he has this profound amount of love for this woman who didn't necessarily have it for herself, and starts to be able to bring that inner voice out of her. And there's obviously the music is really great, and Bradley Cooper starring in it and directing it, I thought did just a really great job. And I just really had a good feeling about the movie after leaving it. And to this day, you can still kind of find yourself humming some of the music from it, and it really stands out.
Yeah, I'll just real quick echo, like, I feel that for Bradley Cooper's directorial debut, like, I just want to kind of be like, yeah, boy, you got this. You know what you're doing. I could see him really tweaking and working on a few things and really putting out some good films in the future. So kudos to him on this one.
Definitely.
All right. Star Is Born, your number 9. Yasha, moving on. Let's hear it. What's your number 9 film of 2018?
My number 9 film for 2018 was Bohemian Rhapsody. And this is weird because I have a couple of these like this where it may not necessarily be centered around how much I enjoyed the movie, but so much as I enjoyed the performance of the actor doing the lead role. Because Rami Malek just, in my opinion, was fantastic in that film. Like, I really think that the movie was fun. The music was fantastic. It's kind of reignited some of my appreciation for Queen and how innovative they were, and listening to them again. But Malek just really embodied Freddie Mercury, in my opinion, and just performed the hell out of that role. And I think that him winning awards is definitely worthy. He's definitely earned it. I don't know, maybe not so much the Oscar, but I definitely think he's fantastic, and he was fantastic in that movie. And that's really why I enjoyed it so much, because I thought his performance was just surreal, like really captivating.
I get that. I really do. I feel like that's what everybody says about that film, is basically he just becomes him.
Right.
Yeah, he just owned it. Like, he was that good, in my opinion. Just like, I've watched the Wimbledon performance that they did back in the 80s, and watched him, and then watched the performance that Malek did, and it's just like he really studied the hell out of what he was doing when he was on stage, and really just it fully engrossed all that energy moving forward that Freddie Mercury had when he was on stage. And it's just like, you almost sometimes at time could forget that it was Malek performing opposed to Freddie Mercury. Like, that's how good I thought he was.
Wow. Yeah, that
Have you guys seen it?
That Wembley concert is one of my favorite things to put on TV on the background while I'm like cleaning the house or something. So as I'm like walking from one side of the house to the other side of the house, like I walk by the TV and I'll see it and I'll stop and I'm like, oh man, you go, Freddie. And I'll go to the bathroom and start cleaning and here listening to Queen. It's one of my favorite concerts to listen to. It's awesome.
No, to answer your question, Bobby, I haven't seen it yet. Michelle, you haven't seen it, right?
I haven't seen it yet either. And it's not for not wanting to. That's just kind of how the dice rolled. There was something else that came out that weekend too that was really big, and I think I went to that instead of this one. But now I couldn't tell you what it was. Anyways.
No. Yeah, I haven't seen Bohemian Rhapsody yet. Want to, though.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to me. That's right. My number 9 film of the year is one of the films I saw in my recent binge of films, and that was 8th Grade.
She's a different generation than us.
She's not a different generation.
Yes, she is.
She's 4 years younger than us. I mean.
Okay, but people who are like 4 years older than us felt like fucking 50 years old.
It's like blatantly not true.
Your sister?
My sister just sucks.
Okay, but like, on top of that, she didn't have Twitter in middle school, and we did. That made us different.
Kayla, you're not different than us.
Yeah. When did you get Snapchat? What grade?
5th grade.
5th grade? What? Yo, see?
Written and directed by Bo Burnham. This movie, it's funny, I've been hearing a lot, not a lot, but I've heard it brought up a few times from other people that, oh, that movie is a horror movie. And as a parent, I will tell you, I agree. That movie is a horror movie. That movie is terrifying in that I have 2 young children who are lovely, sometimes crazy, but lovely, young, innocent children. And watching this movie and realizing the kind of world my kids are growing up in, and who knows what it'll be like by the time they get to that age. But even if they were that age now, I didn't grow up in that kind of world. Like, and
You mean like technology?
Yeah, just, the constant phone in your face. Like
Social media.
This movie does such a good job at times of like really giving you this sense of how they consume media, and it was scared the shit out of me. And it's not like this is news to me. It's like I know this, but still, like that movie frightened me. And Elsie Fisher is fantastic in it, and there's one scene in particular that is really disturbing and uncomfortable, and it was almost hard to watch. I was just like, oh God, this is terrible. This is terrible. Like, yeah. And I say this, it's terrifying. This is a very good film. I really highly recommend it. It was a movie I was really bummed that I missed when it was in theaters. This was much earlier in the year. I think sometime in the summer, wasn't it?
It was spring. I think late spring, actually.
But anyway, 8th Grade I thought was fantastic. So yeah, that's my number 9 film of the year, as much as it frightened me.
David, liking a coming of age film? Never.
Gucci.
Yes, exactly.
Oh God. Yasha, I would recommend watching it and just be prepared to be, and I'm saying uneasy, not like it's so scary and uneasy, but uneasy and like, wow, this is really uncomfortable for social media. Like it just
sort of like
This is directed by Bo Burnham, the comedian.
Yeah.
Well, his comedy's a little unsettling sometimes.
He's a weird cat. Like, I mean, he's a weird guy.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it.
It's almost like if you were to watch, for people who for the very first time watch The Office, and there's this awkwardness, and it makes you kind of squirmy a little
cringy.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but for like 8th graders or whatever. But yeah, it makes you a little uncomfortable.
That's like the perfect way to describe this film, Bobby. That's
All right. So.
Oh, I can't wait. Now I'm really into it. I'm just looking at it right now.
You should watch it, Yasha. And then we'll all have a little conversation about that one.
All right, Michelle, what was your number 9 film of the year?
My number 9 for this year was Black Panther. I love the hell out of this film. Like, I sat in the theater really with a very happy face almost the entire way through this. I think the only time I ever cringed was some of the CGI work because I felt like it was lacking. But this film, as far as the storyline, and the way everything is executed, the pacing, how everything pulls together, the culture, the depth of the culture that is created in this world, this region, this kingdom of Wakanda, the people and the richness that's happening in the history, and just the tapestry of the story that is woven for us to watch in this film. I think it is impressive that this is a comic movie film, and I think it kind of reignited the genre. I think it was starting to we all were getting a little burnt out, and I think it kind of brought it back in for us more to realize the comic genre isn't just about the action per se, but about the people involved in it, the stories, what makes them the person that they are. What makes them be the person they want to be, what makes them change, what makes them not change. And I thought it was really good. I think, yeah, I mean, everybody sings the praises of Black Panther. I really can't say much more. I really, really like this film a lot. Like I like getting transported into Wakanda when I watch this film. And it makes me happy. I like it.
Do you know I own the movie. I have not rewatched that in its entirety since I saw it in the theater.
You know what's sad is I haven't watched it in its entirety front to end like that. I feel like I've watched it in fragments since.
Yeah,
but
I think there's been a couple times where I threw it on TV because I was doing other things, and then I didn't even get very far into it, and I had to turn it off or. It's a fantastic movie. I just haven't rewatched it. To be clear, I want to be clear that I really like Black Panther. To anyone going, you ever rewatch it because it sucks? No. I love Black Panther. Just haven't seen it again, which shocks me myself. That's why I'm bringing it up.
That and Solo are both available on Netflix as well for anyone that wants to watch it there.
Netflix just released it, didn't they? Because I just saw it pop up on my trending now thing.
I thought it had been out for a while. I think I know in Infinity War it came out in December, so I'm sure Black Panther had been out for a while since, I
think Infinity War just dropped on it. That's why. That's probably what's popping up. Anywho.
All right, moving on to number 8. Bobby, what was your number 8 film of the year?
Dear Dolores, DEAR. This is an animal. As I'm writing this letter, I'm eating potato chips, and I'm starting to get thirsty. And you know this is pathetic, right? Tell me what you're trying to say.
I don't know. I miss her.
Then say that. But do it in a manner that no one else has ever done it before. Something like, put this down. Falling in love with you was the easiest thing I've ever done.
Nothing matters to me but you. And every day I'm alive, I'm aware of this. I loved you the day I met you. I love you today, and I will love you the rest of my life. So can I put P.S. Kiss the Kids?
A P.S.?
Yeah, like at the end.
That's like clanging a cowbell at the end of Shostakovich's 7th.
Right. So that's good.
It's perfect, Tony.
My number 8 for 2018 is Green Book. And despite as much controversy this movie seems to keep getting into outside of the movie itself, with people who are in the movie or directing the movie or the story itself, the movie is really great. It's one of the very few feel-good type movies that I've seen within the year. It's about this guy played by Mahershala Ali, who's a pianist, and he is doing a tour in the Deep South and needs someone to, one, drive him, and two, kind of act as a little bit of protection. And that's played by Viggo Mortensen. And it's interesting just because of their dynamic, and Viggo plays this guy who isn't necessarily had much experience with black people, so it takes on a dynamic of its own. But you see their friendship and bond as it progresses throughout the movie, and just very sort of lightheartedness to everything. And I just really enjoyed it. Just absolutely came out of the movie theater smiling and feeling like, we need some more of that kind of stuff in the world. And it was good enough to make my top 10.
Yeah, that's another movie I also have not seen yet. Been wanting to see. But yeah, I've been definitely consuming the kind of both sides reaction to this movie. So I think that's made me even more interested in seeing it. I want to see where I fall with it.
Yeah.
And I will say, we play some clips for these, while we do this top 10 show. And I had already pulled some clips from Green Book, and there were a few. And every clip I watched, I was like, this looks like a really good movie. But then, I hear a lot of the kind of drama around it, and I'm like, now I'm even more curious to see it. So,
yeah.
All right, Yasha, what is your number 8 film?
This one I think is going to blow your guys' mind. It's an iconic character, and I know that everybody who's ever watched the movie has probably seen and or heard about this person at one point or another. I actually chose my number 8 because I thought this was a wonderful continuation of this story. Kept me kind of guessing a little bit. I thought it was fun.
Oh, I think I know.
I didn't really expect to like it as much as I did. I'm talking about the return of Jamie Lee Curtis and Halloween.
I was so waiting for you to say Mary Poppins and just blow.
Fucking right. Right.
Oh my gosh, good pick, Yasha.
I thought it was a wonderful continuation of the story. I thought it was a fantastic way to kind of keep that moving. They don't need another one. I'm sure they will do another one. I thought it was a wonderful, wonderful way to just kind of like show how, this woman has literally had her world turned upside down, and she is just kind of seeped into insanity, but borderline not insane, just suspicious every single day, and has been training for, the return of, this guy, Michael Myers. And I thought it was fantastic how they kind of like almost rebooted the entire story by making it just a direct sequel and saying, let's all ignore all that other bullshit that we did, and let's just pretend that this happened. All right, cool. And they just kind of moved on. And I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. That's why I put it at my number 8.
Very
good
nice.
pick. No, I agree with everything you just said.
All right, my number 8 is yet another film I just recently watched, and that movie is Blind Spotting.
Oh, what is this? Oh, you got a little yister, bro?
Hey, I would like to get out. I got 3 days left on this probation, Miles, so let me on out the
You
car.
gotta let me hold one of these.
You can continue
something for 200.
your gun deal.
Yeah, one in that little visor thing right there. Visor?
Yeah. Of course there's one in the visor.
My goodness. Precious me. One in my pocket. Very nice.
Why are there 6 guns in your car, Dad?
Oh, Colin, man, I like yours. Right here.
Yo, this is not mine. Also, stop pointing at me.
They're not loaded, bro. Those are for sure loaded.
Okay.
See? Oh, get the out. I just got an Uber pickup. You got it. Is this an Uber? Hell yeah. Money everywhere I can get it, homie. Oh, goodness.
This was a movie that got a lot of buzz coming out of 2018 Sundance, and I actually almost didn't watch it because then I started to get torn. I feel like, I don't know, maybe it'd just been so long and I feel like I hadn't been hearing much about it that I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe I got all these other movies I want to try to watch. Maybe I should skip this one, but I decided to, and I was really happy I did. It's from director Carlos Lopez Estrada. The writers in the film, and I'm probably going to butcher their names, but I believe it's Rafael Casal and David Diggs are also the 2 stars of the film. Another actress in the film, whose name I will probably also ruin, and Bobby, you can yell at me, is Janina Gavankar, I believe, who I best know from the game Battlefront 2. Anyway, for those that don't know, the movie is about this guy Colin, and he's a convicted felon who has only 3 days left of his probation. And him and his friend Miles work for a moving company in Oakland. And early in the film, there's one night where Colin, stopped at a red light, actually witnesses a white police officer, who's played by Ethan Embry, gun down a black civilian. And yeah, sounds really serious. It is really serious, but this movie is also kind of part comedy. It's a comedy drama. And I really, really enjoyed it. There's times where rap is thrown into this film, and I feel like in a really creative, awesome way. And I was really glad I watched it. So yeah, Blind Spotting is my number 8 film of the year. I recommend it. Moving on to you, Michelle. What's your number 8 film?
This one might surprise you, because I feel like this is a film that, I'll be honest, when I first watched this film, I almost didn't really know what I felt about it. And I feel like the more and more I think about it, and the more this film sits with me, the more and more I'm like, I really like it. And the super bummy part about this is I didn't get to revisit this film before doing this top 10 list. But I'll be honest, I cannot wait to revisit it, because I feel like I'm going to catch new things in it. Anyways, so my number 8 is Annihilation. Yeah. I look forward to watching this one more time. Like, well, maybe not just one more time, but at least another time in the near future. I feel like the more I think about how this movie plays out and the things that happen in it, the more I feel like I might catch other things in it and look at it in a deeper way or in a different angle, because there's some things in there that I think are left up to interpretation, and other things that are very definite. And I kind of like that. And I'll be honest, I never saw, so the director was Alex Garland. It was the first time I've seen his work. But he had directed Ex Machina a few years prior. And I, not wanting to, have never seen that film. And so now I want to see that film really badly. But yeah, it's, I don't know. It's an interesting movie. I don't think it's for everybody. I think people are going to see this movie and they'd be like, what did I just watch? But I will say it is beautiful in some of its ugliness and ugly in some of its beautifulness. If that makes any sense.
I had no idea you liked it that much.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I enjoyed it a lot when I saw it, but the more I think about this film, the more like I like a few weeks ago, I started watching some clips from some of these movies because it'd been a while, and I'm like, man, that's pretty solid. And the more I sat and thought about this film, the more and more I was just like, I think I actually really did like this. Like, the more it like sits with me, I like it more and more. So yeah, Annihilation.
All right, moving on to number 7. What was your number 7 film of the year, Bobby?
So my number 7 is actually kind of familiar. Well, not familiar, but has sort of the same themes that your number 8 had, David, in a way. Deals with the social commentary and a cop killing an unarmed person. But my number 7 for 2018 is The Hate U Give. And there was a few movies this past year that had that sort of social commentary of, cops and how their treatment of the African American community and how it affects the lives. And for the different reasons of all those movies had a slightly different take, but this particular take I felt connected most to me because the character Star, played by Amanda Liz Steinberg, she is such a gifted young actress, and she did such a good job in terms of really showing how it affected her life in particular, because she's living 2 different lives. She lives in a neighborhood that's amongst the Black community or people of color, but she goes to school in an area that's all white, and she has to dress for school in a particular way, and she interacts with them in a different sort of way, talks to them in a different way. But when she's back home amongst her black friends, she becomes more of herself. And when this incident happens, when her best friend is killed by a police officer, it forces her to essentially have to make a stand between these two lives that she's living and trying to get justice for her friend. And it's really well done, really well acted. Regina Hall is also in it, and Russell Hornsby, who plays Star's father, he's really, really good in it as well. And it just really spoke to me, and I just thought it was a good movie that I felt didn't get seen by enough people, and hopefully maybe me saying it might prompt some more people to go watch it.
Very nice. Number 7, The Hate U Give. Yasha, your number 7 film of the year.
You know, it's kind of funny that Bobby chose a racially charged and racially sensitive movie such as The Hate U Give, because I kind of did the same thing. My number 7 is the return of Spike Lee to major films, and Black Klansman with John David Washington. Now, many of you may know him from Ballers and a handful of other things, but he really took hold of this role, and I thought it was a fantastic film. Very funny, very, very laugh out loud funny in some parts, but also just kind of enlightening. It's kind of sad in the retrospect that, you know, some of the stuff that we deal with today in today's society really does kind of resonate and is almost like what they dealt with back in the 60s and the 70s when this actually guy, Ron Stallworth, infiltrated the KKK, making them believe that he was in fact a white guy and he was an undercover police officer, and they didn't know that. I thought it was insightful. I thought it was funny. I thought it was, you know, very interesting. And then I did some reading on it afterwards, you know, how you do start doing research and you start to fall down the black hole of just like how accurate was this. And, you know, it really did happen. This guy really did infiltrate the KKK. Got a chance to speak with David Duke. A lot of the stuff was for film, but a lot of it was for just that actually did happen. And it was a very interesting story. And some of the talent that they had in it, Alec Baldwin, John David Washington, as I said, Robert John Burke, and then what's the gentleman's name that Adam Driver. That's it. That's who I was trying to remember. He was in it and he was fantastic as well. Anyways, that was my number 7 was Black Klansman.
Good choice.
Good choice indeed.
It's a very good choice.
All right, my number 7 film. It's really my first kind of big budget blockbuster film on my list. And that is Mission Impossible Fallout. This was the 6th, I believe, installment in the Mission Impossible franchise. It was the second film directed by Christopher McQuarrie, who also wrote this film. He also did Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. I mean, basically, if you're an action movie fan, you've seen this movie. If you haven't, then you're not an action movie fan. Like this, the things they're doing now in this Mission Impossible series, the things they did in this film, the things they shot, the fact that they were able to shoot the things that they did in this film, it's mind blowing. It's incredibly well done. I highly recommend it. If you did not see this movie in the theater, I feel for you, and I don't know, find a way to get access to a really large 4K television somewhere and watch this. It's a great film and a really great installment in the Mission Impossible franchise. I'm not necessarily saying it's my favorite Mission Impossible film. I don't know about that, but it's something to watch, and that's why it easily made my top 10. That's why it sits at number 7. So Mission Impossible Fallout, that's my number 7 film. Michelle, what's your number 7 film of 2018?
My number 7 film is Bad Times at the El Royale.
You liked it more than I did. I had no idea.
Wow.
Well, and here's what's funny about it.
Surprising. Because I remember Michelle's initial thoughts. So I'm like, now you've blown my mind, Michelle. I wouldn't have thought this movie would have sniffed anywhere near your top 10.
Well, I enjoyed this film. I just feel like I felt at the time I could have seen it done with a different director. And I still stand by that sentiment. I think when it comes to this film, this is another film that the more I sat with it and thought about it, the more I started to really enjoy it. I still feel like I would love to see. I would love to literally, if next year Tarantino was like, I'm doing this exact same film, but I'm doing it my way, I'd be like, shut up and take my money.
Like basically, you don't want to see somebody else try to make a Tarantino movie. You're like, look, someone wants to make a Tarantino movie, just have him do it. Is what you're trying to say. I'm not saying I agree with that, but gotcha.
Yeah, but I still enjoy this film. I like the story. I like the interweaving of each person's story into it. I don't know. I thought the pacing was good. I thought just the setting of this hotel was really, I don't know. It just kind of encapsulates you in the situation that's happening. It's a fun story in a weird way. And I'm saying fun, like, it's not like this is super fun, but it's fun in that, like, you think you know where it's going, but you just don't know just exactly where it's going per se. You're like, I think it's going in this direction. And I don't know. I sat with it, and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I really did enjoy it. Like Jeff Bridges' character and Jeff Bridges' portrayal of it, it's really, really good. I don't know. It just... Yeah, I like it. More and more I think about it, I really, really like it. So
very nice. Bad Times at the El Royale, your number 7 film of the year. Moving up to number 6, Bobby, what's your number 6 film?
My number 6 is Searching, and this movie stars John Cho, and it takes place in this span of time. But what makes this movie unique is it's told through the perspective of seeing everything on a screen, whether it's a computer screen or video footage or of some sort. So it's not traditionally shot. And while that at first seems like just a sort of a catchy gimmick, you essentially fall into the story itself and John Cho's character trying to find his daughter. And it's an interesting story because of the directions and the ways it takes you. And I just thought going into it, you know, how well could this be done when you're trying to see from a perspective of like the laptop screen or the computer monitor or just anything else. But they do it in such a clever way and a effective way that you forget about that and really just get connected to this story and seeing what happened to his daughter. So that is my number 6 of 2018, Searching,
number 6. All right, Yasha, what's your number 6 film of the year?
All right, on to the lighter side of things for a minute here. It took 14 years, 15 give or take, for them to come back on screen, but I chose Incredibles 2 as my number 6. I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was very sweet. I mean, even though it was essentially watching almost the same movie that you did before, but it's like you're really so attached to these characters and they're so much fun to watch and seeing their interaction with each other and the family dynamic. And it was just a fun movie. I really liked it. So I chose that as my number 6 movie.
I don't fault you at all. That movie was adorable. I love The Incredibles. And I think The Incredibles are great.
I love the I have now seen the Incredibles 2. We'll say a few times, thanks to my children. And the more and more I see it, the more and more I like it. And I liked it when I saw it in theaters. It's
that's a good one.
It's a good one. It's funny. I don't know if I'd call it. I don't know if I'd call it adorable. Like that's an interesting way to describe it. But
it is though. This family that comes together through trials and tribulations of just because they have special abilities and they always pull together. It's adorable. They are so cute and they're so good. I love it. I love The Incredibles.
Great. All right, moving on to my number 6. And for my number 6, this is going to be yet another big budget film. Big budget blockbuster film. And that is Avengers Infinity War is my number 6. I mean, what is there to say about it? This has been 10 years in the making. And it's funny, this isn't even for me, like, this is a top 10 film that is not a perfect movie. Like when we reviewed it, there were definitely things about it that I nitpicked and plot points I wasn't a fan of, but still the feeling you got like right from the start of this movie, and especially at the end, it worked. They pulled this off, and we haven't even seen the next installment of it yet. I really loved Avengers: Infinity War, so that's really all I have to say. That's my number 6 film. Michelle, your number 6 film of 2018.
My number 6 film is incredibly similar to your number 7 film because it is the same film. It's Mission Impossible Fallout.
What do you think you're doing, Erica?
It may be your mission, but this is the CIA's plane. It doesn't take off without my say-so.
We need reliable intelligence, and we need it now. This scenario is precisely why the IMF exists.
The IMF is Halloween, Alan. A bunch of grown men in rubber masks playing trick-or-treat. And if he had held on to the plutonium in Berlin, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
And his team would be dead.
Yes, they would. That's the job. And that's why I want one of my own men on the scene to appraise the situation. Agent Walker, Special Activities.
His reputation precedes.
You use a scalpel. I prefer a hammer. My man goes, or no one goes.
Yeah, I'm on the same heels as what you said. As far as this series goes, it's a really good film. It's not my favorite, but it's really well done. The action sequences are insane. I mean, I feel like all I have to say is basically the bathroom scene and the helicopter scene. And honestly, like if you know what I'm talking about, then you don't understand action film. Those were insane in the best ways possible. And Tom Cruise. We just like to watch ourselves push him to put him through his paces. Basically, we love to see him challenge himself, and we love making him feel that he has to take it up a notch every single time. And I'm okay
every
with
single time.
I'm okay with it. Every single time.
Yeah, you're fighting off of a cliff in a helicopter, but can you do it blindfolded, Tom? Because, I mean, if you can't do it blindfolded, you're just being a little bitch. It's almost like that.
Can you hold on to the outside of an airplane as it's taking off when the G's are at the strongest? Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, thanks. Can you do it for like 5-15 minutes in length?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Hey, can you go to the tallest building in the world and just kind of hang on the outside of it? Yeah, no. If you can't do that, then I mean, why even bother?
Right. No,
impress me.
It's
dance for me, clown.
Yeah, pretty much. And he does it willingly, and I think in a weird way he loves doing it, because I feel like if he didn't love doing it, he wouldn't. So yeah, no. I thought the story was pretty good, a little predictable. But good. I think it was a pretty strong one. Yeah, no, I mean, if you liked any of the Mission Impossibles, I don't know why you wouldn't see this one. Yeah, it was an enjoyable action film from start to finish. Yeah.
Nice pick for number 6.
I think so.
All right. Moving up to our top 5.
We're in the top 5.
Dang. We're just flying through. It feels like we're flying through. I mean, we at the top 5 already.
Yeah.
I think we all want to make sure we have enough time to talk about the top 3.
All right, Bobby, what was your number 5 film of 2018?
My number 5 was Game Night. Oh man, what? Like since
really,
yeah.
And I'm not saying that like it's bad. I thought Game Night was enjoyable. I'm just really surprised. Sorry, continue.
Oh no, so did I. I mean, don't get me wrong, so did I. I definitely enjoyed it. Like I thought it was really funny, but I just was not expecting it to be top 5. Like bravo, Bobby.
Man, all right, this gets better and better. Let's do this thing.
The only status curveball right there.
I love
Sometimes I like to be unpredictable.
I love when we get in the top 5, because it's like you just never know what the hell's gonna happen. So.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's the thing with this one. So with Game Night, I love me a good comedy, and I feel like a lot of times I go see comedies. I feel like I'm going in expecting to be disappointed, just because I don't know if it's the case, but to me, comedy seems very hard to pull off because everyone's subjective and comedy hits people in different ways. And then sometimes, we all see the same thing and we'll get the same general reaction one way or another. But not everyone can like a specific style of comedy. And with this one, with Game Night, the last time I remember having so much fun watching a movie was when I saw, or at least for a comedy anyway, was when I saw the year before Girls Trip. And so Game Night had that same sort of just good feel and this whole aspect of all these different people and couples involved in a real world hunt and chase in a game. It reminded me of this movie I used to love as a kid growing up called Midnight Madness, and it was about these different groups of people all going through the city of LA trying to solve this essentially like a scavenger hunt. And that's what Game Night kind of represents to me. And you throw in Jason Bateman, who's always with his sort of deadpan humor is just funny. And then Rachel McAdams, I thought was funny. And I don't really typically see her do a lot of comedy if she has done any that much. Well, I guess she did Wedding, the Wedding. Which one's the Wedding one? Help me out, guys. With
Wedding Crashers?
Yes, Wedding Crashers. She was in that, right?
Wedding Crashers, was it?
Yeah, I thought she was in that. But
wait, who?
Rachel McAdams.
Oh yeah, she was in Wedding Crashers.
Oh yeah, she's in a lot of things.
So I haven't seen her do too much comedy, but I just really thought she was very funny and effective in this, and then playing this sort of very much alpha couple in which they are super competitive and like to win, and it just worked. Everything in terms of the comedy and the aspects of the stories and even the individuals involved with their own little issues, I just thought worked out really, really well. And yeah, it was a really good time at the movie theater, and I've watched it since it's been like out on video. So yeah, I can't recommend it highly enough if you haven't seen it for watching Game Night.
Good pick. Game Night, you're number 5. Yasha, what is your number 5 film of 2018?
Well, I decided to take it back to the horror genre, and my number 5 is A Quiet Place. John Krasinski's directorial debut, directed and whatnot. I think he might have directed maybe one other thing. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a really interesting way to make a horror film or a suspense thriller, if you would. I didn't even mind that Emily Blunt was in it. I thought she was.
God, you kill me.
Man. You know what, though, guys? This is a big step for Yasha, okay?
This is huge.
This is huge.
A huge step.
This is big.
You know, my next step is I will take the time sooner or later to watch Mary Poppins. I will power through that eventually. It's still just a little soon. I'm not going there just yet. But John Krasinski, to me, nailed it with this movie.
It's a little soon since the last Mary Poppins movie.
Yes, since the last Mary Poppins movie.
I think what he's saying
even though
is
it came out before I was born.
I think what he's saying is a little too soon for his next Emily Blunt film.
Still too soon. Still too soon. But I genuinely enjoyed the John Krasinski film, A Quiet Place, almost as much as people, basically the hype that they kind of fed into it. I was kind of all in still with it. I was like, yeah, this is fun. This is cool. I kind of dug it. I like the suspense of it. I like the thrill of it. A little predictable in some aspects of it. I don't think it needs a sequel. I think they're planning on trying to do a sequel. I hope they don't do a sequel. But I really liked it. Yeah. And that was my number 5.
I feel like that's a film that hasn't got enough credit on a lot of people's top 10 lists for this year. Like, I don't think people forgot about it per se, but it's almost like, I don't know. It's like, I think because when it came out, man, everybody loved this film, me included. Yeah. And I just feel like, I don't know. It's almost like, I'm like, guys, did y'all forget about this cool movie that John Krasinski did? Like, it was pretty sweet. Yeah. Like, I know it happened kind of early in the year, but like, really, you should really return to this. Like, it's pretty sweet. Anyway.
No, I agree with you. As I've been perusing top 10 lists, I've been like, wait, like I don't really see it anywhere. It's not popping up like anywhere.
Right. Like it's surprising to me how much it's not showing up.
Like, but I also will go back to what I said early in the show where I'm like, there were a lot of really good movies in my opinion this year. So maybe that's why.
No.
But it's like, that's the thing. It's like, you talked about it so much when it first came out. Like you couldn't go anywhere without anybody talking about, have you seen A Quiet Place? Have you seen A Quiet Place? Almost as nauseating as Bird Box. And here we are, in 2019, and I haven't seen anybody really talking about it. It's like they almost forgot that this movie came out last year. But I genuinely enjoyed watching this family live and try and communicate with each other without making a sound. I thought it was great.
Solid pick, Yasha.
All right, I guess moving on to me. My number 5 film was also Yasha's number 7 film, and that is Black Klansman from director Spike Lee. I mean, what else to say? It's an excellent movie. It's dealing with an extremely serious subject, but at the same time, it's funny at times. I thought John David Washington, Adam Driver were both fantastic in this movie. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely just another highly recommended watch for me. Like I can't recommend it enough. I walked out of it though, like also like knowing my dad, and like part of me wanted to be like, Dad, God, you need to run out and watch Black Klansman. But at the same time, I feel like if you do, it's just going to piss you off at the world. Like,
right.
People can be terrible human beings, and I don't know. But it's fantastic, and I really love Black Klansman, so that's why it's my number 5.
It's really good because I feel, and I feel like with this film, the thing is, I think I don't know. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna really throw my feet in here, but like I feel like some people either love or hate Spike Lee, right? I feel like it's very deep. It's one or the other. I've never really had any kind of like deep love or deep an appreciation for him. Like I've never really fallen on one of those two sides. I will say though, this film, I think even if you've never even seen a Spike Lee film, see this film. Like it's really good. And I don't know, like it's a really well done film. And I think some people won't see it because they're like, oh, it's done by Spike Lee. Yeah, I don't like Spike Lee. And I'm like, well, just give it a shot. Promise me you'll just give it a shot. Like, yeah, you might have your own thoughts on him as a person or whatever, his politics, but go see this. I have a feeling you might change your mind, at least on this film. And I think that's kind of what unfortunately happened a little bit with this one. But the people that did see it love it, and I think for all the right reasons.
Right. All right, Michelle, your number 5 film.
Oh, it's my turn.
It's your turn.
My number 5. Sorry. It's First Man.
Jan, the ship is stable. They're gonna be all right. He's okay, Jan. I need you to go home.
Fine. Turn the box back on.
I'll see what I can do.
Turn the box back on now.
Oh, there's security protocol.
Well, I don't give a damn. I've got a dozen cameras on my front lawn, Deke. Do you want me telling them what's going on?
Jan, you have to trust us. We've got this under control.
No, you don't. All these protocols and procedures to make it seem like you have it under control. But you're a bunch of boys making models out of balsa wood. You don't have anything under control.
Damien Chazelle. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think I kind of called it when I did the review. I was like, this is going to wind up somewhere in the top 5 after I saw that film. I was like, I'm pretty sure somewhere in the top 5.
I would actually argue I would have expected it to be higher. I'm almost surprised it's down here at 5.
You're not going to disagree when I go through the top 5, the rest of it, though. You'll be like, oh, yeah, no, that makes sense when she's comparing to those.
Well, we'll see.
You'll see. That was high pitch. Wow.
That was high pitch. Sorry. Yes, we'll see. Really? Anyway, number 5, First Man. Please tell us.
So my number 5 is First Man. Damien Chazelle directed film. I will say, and now I can easily say this because I have finally seen Whiplash. This is my favorite Damien Chazelle film.
And it hurt me deeply when you said it. Oh God.
Really?
It killed me inside.
I crushed David's soul.
She did, man.
Crushed David's soul. I was We won't get into it, but I was not impressed with Whiplash.
You weren't impressed.
No,
with
man.
it
We
either.
You weren't
watched.
impressed with Whiplash? Wait, what did you just say?
Thank you. Thank you. We watched
what did you
Whiplash.
say, Michelle?
I want to just say real quick. We watched Whiplash, and it was actually that's only the second time I'd seen it. I never rewatched it before, and I watched it.
Really?
No, I owned it. I had a digital copy of it because I
wow.
got it for like $5 on Apple one day.
Well, I should have told you something.
But oh my god, you.
Oh my God.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Anyway,
You walked right into that.
we watched Whiplash, and my experience watching it the second time was just as fucking good as it was the first time. Like that movie.
Yeah.
That's a damn good film. And
it was in my top 3, I think, of that year.
yeah, I think that was my number 2 film that year. And it was a big time contender for number 1. Like me, I think that year was like Bird Box, Whiplash. Like just, take your pick.
Oh, Birdman, yeah.
Or Birdman, yeah, Birdman. Sorry, God, I mean, seen Bird Box. Yeah, and when we saw that, and you were like, it's okay. I almost.
Oh my God, that movie was fantastic. That movie was fantastic.
That movie was
Michelle.
fantastic,
Really,
Michelle.
really, that movie was all kinds of fantastic. Like,
Anyway,
the
we
music,
drifted off topic. First Man,
Yeah,
First
a little
Man,
bit.
number 5. Tell us about First Man, please.
Well, I really liked First Man, though. Okay, and I did. I like looking at Neil Armstrong in a harder light. I think I don't feel like this film really makes him out to be a hero. I think it really personalizes him and humanizes him in a way that we haven't seen before. I feel like everybody in America has this vision of this hero in their head, and I think it makes him, I don't know, it makes him fallible, and like it shows a different light. And I'm not saying he's a bad person. It's just, it shows him that he's not perfect. He's not some superhero. He's not like whatever it's been. And I like that. And I loved watching just the way the story unfolded. Claire Foy's portrayal of Nancy Armstrong. I can't remember her name. It's Neil's wife. It's just, so good. So very, very, very good. But just, I think that the shots that were done, just the way the cinematography was done, I'm watching this film. I know how the ending is, man. I know what's going to happen, and I'm watching the landing on the moon, and I am literally gripping the armchair in my seat. I'm so tense, and I'm so it just in the film enveloped me in such a way that for me to see a movie about a story that I know, and I know how it's going to turn out, for it to make me go, oh my God, are they going to make it? That says something, right? Like, anyways, I thought it was done extremely well. I thought the acting was superb. The story, the script was amazing. I am very, very happy with this film. I have nothing bad to say about this film whatsoever. So yeah, I liked it quite a lot.
Very good pick. First Man, your number 5 film. Moving up to number 4. Bobby, what's your number 4 film of the year?
My number 4 has actually been mentioned already by the two of you, Michelle and David, and that's Bad Times at the El Royale.
The lady's got a hotter hand than we do, Father. I am very sorry to keep you waiting.
Damn, boy, where you been? Waiting in this lobby so long I could use a shave. What's wrong with you?
I'm very sorry. What are you doing here, Father?
Do I know you, son?
No, but I mean, this is not a place for a priest, Father. You shouldn't be here.
We might need to work on your sales pitch, son. The El Royale, no place for a priest.
There are other hotels, Father. maybe closer to Tahoe, I could help you find one. I'm sure you would be happier there.
Miles, is it? If this is not a place for a priest, Miles, then this is exactly where the Lord wants me.
I can't say too much more than what you guys have already said collectively, but just to add a little bit, there's most movies I'll see twice or maybe even 3 times usually have to have some sort of superhero aspect to it. And those are the ones I gravitate towards seeing multiple times in the theater. This was the one rare exception in that lineup in which I went back to the theater to go see this movie a second time just because of a lot of the elements in which you guys talked about and the way that the story is structured, the characters involved, the subplots, and just some of the performances. And specifically, you guys pointed out Jeff Bridges, but I'd also like to mention Cynthia Erivo, who is playing Darlene Sweet, and her performance in it. And yeah, a lot of the things that she was doing in this movie was really good. And John Hamm doing his accent and of a sort of a Southern gentleman. And it's just all comes together and swirls into this compelling story, and just in an interesting location to have a movie set on like the Nevada/California border where this hotel lies, and it's the hotel is directly in the middle of these two places, and just all these different elements that I really appreciated and made it something that I felt very fondly and strongly about, and remembered at the time of seeing it the first time, just having thoughts about it later on and wanting to see it again and then seeing it again and seeing things that I missed the first time. It was just really, really well done.
Good pick. Number 4, Bad Times at the El Royale. Yasha, what is your number 4 film?
Okay. My number 4 is not necessarily because of the acting. The talent wasn't necessarily the greatest in the film, even though I think some of the actors that are in the film are quite talented. I'm going more strictly for the story of this one, and it's a heist film, but I really, really, after thinking about it, kind of got invested in it. I really enjoyed this film the more I thought about it, and I'm going to be talking about Den of Thieves. I genuinely enjoyed this movie. I thought it was pretty good in the acting, but I liked the story. The surprise ending, I thought it was one of those true movies where I actually watched it and I was like, yeah, all right, I can watch the sequel of this movie just to kind of see where this goes, because I genuinely enjoyed the way the story was being told. So I'm looking forward to the sequel because they are making the sequel, and I'll be all in on that one as well. I thought it was a fun movie.
You know, a lot of people crapped on that movie, but I actually had a good time with it as well. It was interesting just because you had Gerard Butler playing a not so nice guy, even though he's supposed to be on the side of good, and the bad guys in the movie, they also went into showing that they weren't altogether just bad either. So I thought they did a pretty good job of not just making everyone either good or bad, and they were all kind of elements of gray, and it was done really well.
That's kind of how I envisioned it too, as more like a blur. I mean, Gerard Butler was relatively decent acting job. Pablo Schreiber is becoming a fantastic actor. Every time that I see him, I think he's incredibly talented. I also think O'Shea Jackson Jr. is making some excellent choices when it comes to, progressing his career and stemming away from just looking like his dad. Yeah. He has talent, and I think he has somebody that's working with him who's coaching him, because I think that's a really good way of moving forward when it comes to being an actor or a musician that's trying to transfer into the acting realm. It starts small and progress. You don't jump right in, get people used to the idea of you bouncing around different characters and showing some range. And he's doing that. I thought 50 Cent was decent in the movie, and I thought Meadow Williams was also decent in the film. Like I said, the movie wasn't necessarily in the realm of the acting was fantastic. It was the story. I like the idea of the heist film, and I like the direction that they went in it. And I'm excited and interested to see what they do with the second one, because hopefully it's a decent film. It's just as fun, I should say.
All right, Den of Thieves. Yasha, your number 4 film of the year. That means it's my turn. My number 4 film has also been mentioned before. And it was actually mentioned very recently by you, Michelle, at your number 5. And that is First Man.
I don't know what space exploration will uncover, but I don't think it'll be exploration just for the sake of exploration. I think it'll be more the fact that it allows us to see things that maybe we should have seen a long time ago, but just haven't been able to until now.
Does anyone have anything else?
Yeah. Neil, I was sorry to hear about your daughter.
I'm sorry, is there a question?
What I mean is, do you think it will have an effect?
I think it would be unreasonable to assume that it wouldn't have some effect.
Yeah, Damien Chazelle, a director that for me is definitely 3 for 3. And yeah, I guess I would say maybe to anyone who hasn't seen it, and maybe you're thinking, oh, it's the story of Neil Armstrong landing on the moon. What don't I know about this? Like, what's the point of seeing this? Like, I would say first, just the experience the movie gives you, like the kind of claustrophobic like feeling of like what was really like for these guys going through the training they went through, going through actual space flight. And I think it's also easy for those of us now in a more modern era to think back to this time that, oh, these guys at NASA, like they knew what they were doing, and they did know what they were doing, but like that they were using technology that was just like, oh, it just made it happen. Like it was just like, I don't know. It was just like this movie gave you the true sense of like, wow, they were basically flying around in tin cans and they were making this happen as quickly as they could because of the space race. And like, this was borderline nuts, the stuff that these people were doing. and I feel like it's an incredible experience. And I'm saying that as someone who's grown up here just off the Space Coast and has been watching shuttle launches and rocket launches his whole life and has always been like fascinated by space travel and NASA. And maybe that's part of why I also love this film. But I really loved First Man quite a bit. And there's also just aspects to Neil Armstrong's story that I didn't know. And as long as they're true, I got a better sense of it from this film. So I like this film a lot. So yeah, First Man is my number 4 film of the year.
Good pick.
Have you seen his other movie? Because I know you said
his first film. 3 for 3. He's 3 for 3. I guess you're right. He has made 4 films, and he had made a film before Whiplash, and I forget what it was called.
It's Guy and Madeline on a park bench.
Yeah, I guess because I don't know. I guess for me, because I consider Whiplash his first like kind of breakout hit.
Yeah,
it's easy to think of that as his first movie.
Yeah,
but you're right. He had made a movie before that, which I know I have not seen that.
I am curious to see it because for me, I agree. I didn't quite hold First Man as high esteem as you and Michelle, but I did like it. But I am curious about his original first directorial debut movie.
Yeah, same here. All right, Michelle, your number 4 film of the year.
Well, my number 4 film, I'm now very confident, is in your guys' top 3.
Your guys is like all of us?
Like as in yours, Bobby's, and Yasha's.
Oh, that should be good.
Oh, no. I think you can guess it. I mean, you guys are like, you put this at 4, and you're gonna give me crap for putting it at 4 because
well, I know what it is now.
Spectacular. It's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
See, here comes the shitstorm. Bring it.
No, I mean, I think that's a good.
No, that's a solid pick.
10, and the number 4 is solid.
I mean,
I still want to revisit the whole Whiplash conversation, so I'm fine with this. Go right ahead.
It's in the top 5. Okay, so no, let I don't think I've ever really gotten to give my full.
No, you actually haven't on the podcast.
My full review on Spider-Verse, but I think I've let it be known in another show that I loved this film. So I will very quickly say I loved Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It was so good. It is officially my favorite Spider-Man film, if not the best Spider-Man film that is out there. It is so good. The storyline is so good. The animation is so good. The music is so good. Like, everything is so good about this film. I know, I'm such a dork. Anyways, I have nothing to nitpick about this film, quite honestly. Like, I was trying to even nitpick at this film, and I literally cannot nitpick at this film. The animation it's just beyond. I mean, it felt like I was seeing the comic come to life in front of me, and at the same time, it was a more refined version of it, and I loved it. It's just so good. The colors, the use of angles, everything. Just, I sing the praises of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I know it's going to wind up in your guys' top 3, because if it doesn't, then we're no longer friends. But
it's not in your top 3. We're no longer friends if it's not in ours.
If we've gotten this far and y'all don't list it, we have issues.
All right, I'll give you that.
That's my point. Anyways, no, this film, so good, people, so good. This is hands down, and I say this loving Incredibles 2, and I love The Incredibles 2. This is hands down the best animated film of the year, if not top 5 films of the year, in my opinion. So, yeah, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, my number 4, and definitely within your guys' top 3.
All
So,
right.
there we have it.
All right, we're moving into our top 3. I want to say first, and especially because now we're going to you, Bobby, it's interesting because I'm sitting here looking at your list and thinking, wow, you only have 3 spots left. And there are easily...
so many films.
Well, I'm thinking off the top of my head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 movies. And I'm like, well, 2 of them aren't on your list. How is this possible?
Right. Yeah. It's got to be in its honorable mentions for sure.
Oh, I'm sure they will be, but still, like...
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm going to say it right now. Like, there's movies that I'm like, wait, you think Solo is better than 2 of these 5 movies.
Right.
And it's doing something to my insides. I'm not sure how this is possible.
This is why it's interesting because just a little inside baseball. Me and David had talked previously about whether or not we should do a top 15 list instead of just a top 10. And one of my thoughts on it was the idea of reason not to do a top 15 is because you can kind of start to piece together where movies are or not, because you're doing an extra 5. But by keeping it to the 10, it really makes you wonder, did something get left off, or is it just lower in the list and we haven't reached it yet?
Right.
So
It still leaves a
interesting.
little percentage, Oh, yeah. I mean, other than Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but otherwise, it leaves a small little gap.
Because if that's not in your top 3, man, Michelle's leaving you. Like, she's not going to talk to you again.
I'm never talking to you again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, to get to my number 3 of 2018, Michelle stole my thunder because it is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Seriously, Dad, walking would have been fine.
Reports of another mysterious seismic event last night. Sources close to Spider-Man say he's looking into the problem.
Spider-Man. I mean, this guy swings in once a day, zip, zap, zop in his little mask and answers to no one, right?
Yeah, Dad, yeah.
I love you, Miles.
Yeah, I know, Dad.
You gotta say I love you back.
Dad, are you serious?
I want to hear it.
You want to hear me
I
say
love
it?
you, Dad.
You're dropping me off out of school?
I love you, Dad.
Look at this place.
Dad, I love you.
Dad, I love you.
That's a copy.
For me, this movie just holds a special place in my heart because it's this character of Miles Morales who, one, I followed since his introduction into the comic books, and the idea of this character being of Black and Latino descent, it's special to me because that's the same thing that my son is. He is of those two cultures, and so it's an interesting thing to be able to see someone that is represented on screen to be able to have that, and my son to have that as something that he can look at and be like, that is literally me in a sense. And just the story itself was so well done. The aspects of just the being able to introduce these other spider people from this multiverse and showing that they too have interesting stories and personalities of their own, to where you could literally want to see a movie of those characters by themselves because of so much that they have going on in their story. But this being Miles' story, they also are respectful of that. And while you do see Peter Parker Spider-Man in this, there is that mentorship that he has to Miles and a special connection. And just as everyone, or as Michelle had said, the animation is just done in such a way that you haven't seen before. And it lends itself to being a comic book that has come to life, because sometimes you literally are seeing panels in the movie like you would see as you're reading a comic book, and word bubbles and everything else. And it just does such a incredible job of weaving all these aspects together into making this movie that initially, when people heard that they were doing it, they didn't, one, know the character of Miles Morales and who he is as Spider-Man, and two, were questioning, is there too much Spider-Man stuff right now? And the answer to that is no, because of how popular this has really become, and is, assuming everything else goes well, will spin off into other things starring some of those other characters. So yeah, Michelle, I did have a Spider-Man movie. This Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is my number 3.
Sweet.
All right, Yasha, your number 3 film of the year.
Oh man, my number 3. Well, it's I thought long and hard about this, my top 3 basically, and it wasn't easy for me to come up with this decision, but I finally settled on something that I'm sure you guys aren't too surprised with. I went with Black Panther as being my number 3.
Ask who I am.
You're Eric Stevens, an American black operative, a mercenary nicknamed Killmonger. That's who you are.
That's not my name, princess. Ask me, king.
No.
Ask me.
Take him away.
Ungubani, Indingu Indidaka, Unyanakan Jobu. Huh? Unyanakan Jobu. I found my daddy with panther claws in his chest. You ain't the son of a king, you are a son of a murderer. Uyabo son. Lies!
I'm afraid not, Queen Mother.
What? You? Indanda Tokan Jobu.
Hey, Auntie. I'm exercising my blood right. The challenge for the mantles of King and Black Panther.
Do not do this, T'Challa. As the son of Prince Njobu, he is within his rights. He has no rights here. The challenge will take weeks to prepare.
Weeks? I don't need weeks. The whole country ain't gotta be there. I just need him and somebody to get me out of these chains.
T'Challa, what do you know of this?
I accept your challenge.
The movie just, to me, was nothing that I was expecting, and still incredibly surprised at how good it was, if that makes sense. It's just the villain, the story, the interaction, the acting. I mean, they, in my book, in my mind, really nailed it with this character, and I'm genuinely excited to see and fearful of what the next one holds, because how do you hold up for such a success the first time around. How do you continue that success? And if anybody can do it, I do believe that it's Marvel. I'm just excited to see it. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what's next on the plate for Ryan Coogler and Chadwick Boseman. I just can't wait. So it's just Michael B. Jordan was fantastic in the movie. Lupita Nyong'o, Winston Duke, with his standout role, Forrest Whitaker, like all these characters just being amazing and fantastic and iconic in just a very, very short amount of time. I can't wait to see what's next. I can't wait. Just excited.
Very nice. Black Panther, you're number 3. Moving on to me, my number 3 film was The Favorite.
Ooh.
Why that reaction?
I had a feeling.
Well, because my thought was The Favorite was either going to be 3 or 2.
Oh, yeah?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And you had a feeling, Bobby.
Yeah. In fact, I wouldn't have been surprised, and maybe it changed, but I wouldn't have been surprised if it was your number 1. And same with Michelle, just because. But I can see how, since you've seen some other things recently, maybe it got pushed or maybe it didn't. But yeah, I knew how much you two thoroughly enjoyed the movie, so it wasn't surprising that it was going to make your list. And I thought for sure I could easily see it top 2, possibly number 1.
I did. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, for those who don't know, it's set in early 18th century England. Our monarch is Queen Anne, played by Olivia Colman. Though her close friend, Lady Sarah, played by Rachel Weisz, basically runs the country, pretty much. And I mean, the basis of the movie is kind of this drama that starts to ensue once we have a servant come into the picture, played by Emma Stone. Yeah, they start to compete for her attention. And I found it to be an incredibly entertaining watch. I thoroughly enjoyed watching this movie. And I don't know, part of me is like, you listen to the synopsis of the film, and it doesn't sound like a movie that would be like, yeah, it sounds entertaining, but it's like top 3 worthy. But I don't know, like, it's solid, and the performances are solid, and it's entertaining, and it's set in the early 18th century, but at the same time it feels like it has like a modern sense of humor about it. And there's also peculiar ways that the director shot it that I liked. I know some people, I feel like, aren't a fan of some of the fisheye lens stuff and the extreme wide angle lenses that are in this movie. And I dug it, how he threw that in here and there. And again, Nicholas Hoult in this movie is amazing. Okay, I said it when we reviewed the film on Spoiler Effect. I'll say it again. He's fantastic in this film. I loved him and his character in this film quite a bit. But anyway,
you guys have got me so interested in seeing this movie now. You keep talking.
I tried, man. I tried to nudge you to see it.
You've got to see it, dude.
I just didn't have enough time that day. Like, before I knew, I was like, man, the day is already gone. Like, if I can't get into a movie early in the morning, then it's so hard for me to get to one later on in the afternoon. But man, I'm so interested and excited to see the movie now. Like, I just can't wait.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think just about anybody would. I mean, it's funny. I've heard a couple, like, on other shows and, on other websites, some kind of dissenting opinions on this film, and I've been like, really? Like, how did you not enjoy that movie? I don't understand. But for the most part, I think it's been pretty well received, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that's why it's at my number 3. Michelle, your number 3 film of the year.
My number 3 film of 2018 is BlacKkKlansman.
How do you propose to make this investigation?
Well, I've established contact and created some familiarity with the Klansmen over the phone. I'll continue in that role, but I'll need another officer, surprise, surprise, a white officer to play me when they meet face to face.
That's my point exactly.
Chief, Black Ron Stallworth over the phone, white Ron Stallworth face to face, so there becomes a combined Ron Stallworth.
Can you do that?
I believe we can. With the right white man, we can do anything.
I loved this film. And it's one of those things that, like, I went into it going, this looks like it's a pretty good one. This looks like it's a pretty solid story. It looks like it's good. It's a good thinker. It's a good emotional one, but it's also going to have some humor to it. And you know what? It was all of that and more. Honestly, Spike Lee really, this is one of his crowning achievements, in my opinion. And he's done some spectacular film, but man, I don't know. They're just, the way he made this story unfold in front of us, and the interjection of humor here and there, but also the serious tones. And I mean, it's so good. Like, BlacKkKlansman is just so good, and yet so frustrating. As David kind of said, like, if he'd sent his dad to it, his dad would love it, but also be super frustrated because of how society is. And yeah, like, I'm watching this and, there's aspects of it that I'm like, I grew up in some areas that definitely had these backwater ways of thinking. And I've known people, and it's makes me sad. But at the same time, like, I just, it's so good. Just everything, the portrayal of the situation, the acting, just, I don't know. It really hits the nail on the head, and everybody is spectacular in it. I really like Adam Driver. So good. I think for John David Washington for this to be one of his more major kind of debut-ish things, I think this was a spectacular pick for him. Yeah, so good. I mean, and like, I'm watching it, and to sit there and to watch some of these guys play really spectacular white KKK tools is really awesome. Like, just seeing how the whole thing unfolds, I love it. Topher Grace, like, oh, what a silly, naive little man. So good. Anyways, but I mean, I will say, like, it's one of those things, you watch a Spike Lee film and there's always kind of something that brings it home at the end. And the conversation about what happened in South Carolina, it's Charlotte, North Carolina, wasn't it? Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it, it always, it ends on a pretty somber note.
Where the film is set, you talking about?
No, I know it's in Colorado Springs, Colorado. The after scene.
that. I'm sorry. Go on.
And it really it really brings it back in, and it makes you realize, like, we're still to this day dealing with this kind of bullshit. And it's heartbreaking, and I don't know. So it's like, at one point you leave this film kind of on a high note, and then at the same time you also kind of leave it on a, God damn it, how are we not further along kind of moment at the same time. And it really, I don't know. I love this film, and I think everybody should see it. It's really good, and that's coming from a person that's never really loved nor hated Spike Lee. I've been pretty indifferent on him. I loved this film. It's very good.
Very nice. BlacKkKlansman, your number 3 film of the year. All right, we're up to our top 2. Bobby, my God, what could possibly be your number 2? Because I'm still like, wait a second, there's another movie. How the F is he not?
Bobby is every year. Bobby is the biggest enigma around this.
I'm sitting here going, wait a second.
Every year.
I mean, I loved Game Night. Oh. He thinks Game Night is better than possibly this movie. How can that be?
Everybody has different opinions. Unless it's about Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, and then they're just wrong.
Well, he's got you covered there. He's good.
I know, he's good there.
All right.
And I will say, it's not necessarily that I think a movie is better per se. And like, if you laid it out on paper and was like, look at this and look at that, is this movie actually better? It's just what entertained me or connected with me and stuck to my ribs a little bit more than one other. But that being said, my number 2 movie of 2018 was A Quiet Place. And yeah, just for a lot of the reasons as stated before. I mean, John Krasinski being his directorial debut just did such a phenomenal job with the directing and just the concept, high concept in terms of there's these creatures that can kill you if they hear you and you have to be quiet. And so much of the movie is acted with just expressions and the fear is palpable. And you just really connect with these characters because of their plight. And it was such an intense viewing experience in the movie theater like none I've had in quite a while, where you're just tensed up the entire time because you know any little noise is going to bring those creatures, and you're fearful of it because you have this connection with this family. And there's some scenes in the movie where it really tears at your insides in a way because of the stakes that are involved. And there's one scene in particular that involves a nail that's just cringeworthy, and you're just like, you feel for it. You feel it through the screen. And just the performances in general, and even by the young actress whose name is escaping me, who plays his daughter that has a hearing problem. She did just such a really good job as well. But just so many things about this movie I loved, and I didn't forget about it, even though it did come out last, I think it was March or April.
I think it was March.
I remember getting to see the movie because I was at WonderCon, and they were handing out passes for an early screening. I think it was a couple weeks before it was ready to actually be shown, or a week or so. And getting to see that with a lot of people who were at WonderCon and going to go see that movie, they all had that same anticipation level, and it was just such a great experience. And I saw it again in the theater just because of how much I enjoyed it the first time. So, that's my number 2 of 2018.
The actress you were thinking about is Millicent Simmons, and she actually is hearing impaired. She was actually John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, because Emily kind of produced a little bit on this film. They specifically chose her to be their daughter for this film.
Yep.
So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, Bobby, you continue to surprise me.
I will say David's head just exploded in front of my face.
All the movies on my little list in my mind of like, what is he going to pick for this point? That Quiet Place, not on the list. I was like, well, what the fuck?
His head just exploded. There's brain matter against the back wall.
Seriously.
Like it was kind of funny. Like I was trying to be really quiet because I was laughing so hard because you said it, and David's face just couldn't.
It's just so funny to me because as I was putting together my top 10, I literally was thinking about David just because when we had the discussion of the top 15, this is exactly what I was expecting from him and from you all, really, to be honest, is that.
Oh, no, I think it was a solid choice there.
Thinking but beyond that, like David said, there's about 4 or 5 movies that you would just think would be here within this top 5. So not hearing them, you have to be like, well, where is this? Because it's got to be somewhere. So did he leave this one out, or is it coming up next? So yeah, I knew that was probably going to happen. So
it's like, if you were here, I'd go up whisper, hey, you remember this movie came out right this year? Did you forget? Bobby, wait, this movie too. This was 2018. And I would expect you to go, oh shit, that's right. I totally forgot. Anyway, we're gonna move on. Yasha, your number 2 film of 2018.
My number 2 of 2018 has already been mentioned. I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there because I think that this could, by all accounts, arguably be the best Spider-Man movie that has ever been released. I'm going Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
What are you doing, bud?
I can't move. Okay, relax your fingers. We don't have time. Just let go. Be in the moment. I am in the moment. It's a terrible moment. They're right there. They're gonna see you. Miles, you gotta unstick. What do you do to relax? Relax. Needless to say,
Oh, for crying out loud.
Calling it quits now, baby. I'm away. You're right. Ah!
Teenager's just the worst. Miles, where did you go?
I'm right here.
Where? I can't see you.
I'm right in front of you. Can Can Spider-Man turn invisible? Not in my universe. You just poked me in my eye. This is incredible. Some kind of fight or flight thing. What's that?
I thought this role and film was absolutely fantastic. The art, the writing, the music, the dialogue, the banter, some of the surprises I wasn't necessarily expecting. I genuinely enjoyed this movie. I thought it was just fantastic. And some of the it was great. The art when when he finally became Spider-Man and the swinging, and this is just proves that this character, I think, has legs, and it still is very, very interesting, and people still love it. And I hope that the second one they have coming is just as good, if not better. I think it was a fantastic film, and that is definitely right there my second favorite movie of the year.
Very nice pick at number 2, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So good. I think I'll put it at number 2 as well.
Oh,
yeah, nice.
Bravo, sir.
That is my number 2 film. What else is there to say? It is fantastic.
So good.
I loved Spider-Man Homecoming. In fact, I think on this podcast, I stood up and applauded that movie because
I think you did. Yeah.
It was, I thoroughly enjoyed that. I've liked some Spider-Man films, but that was like, man, okay, I get it now. I get why everyone likes Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's awesome.
This is pretty cool. I get this. And then I saw this movie and I'm like, my God, like,
even better.
I'm a Spider-Man fan now. I want to start reading Spider-Man books. I'm dying to read Miles Morales Spider-Man books. Like, I haven't done it yet because I've been so busy watching these movies. But
yeah,
the animation, everything you guys have said, story, the comic book film that feels most like experiencing a comic book I think we've ever seen. It's an incredible experience, and yeah, it made some money, but not nearly what it should have made.
Oh God, no, not even close.
I mean, if it doesn't win an Oscar for Best Animated Film, and I mean, I liked Incredibles 2 a lot. I did.
I agree.
I'm not saying Incredibles 2 is not worthy of that Oscar.
Disney has a hard pull with Oscars, though.
But man, if this does not win the Oscar for animated film, that is tragic.
Yeah,
pretty much.
It did win the Golden Globe, so I mean, say what you will about the Golden Globes, but at least they got that one right.
Minimally, that shit show pulled it together for that one. Pardon me.
So yeah, it's a fantastic movie, and it is at my number 2 this year.
Good choices. You boys had good choices in your top 3 there.
Oh, thanks there.
Good job.
All right, Michelle, your number 2 film of the year.
I don't think this is a big surprise for Bobby or David or Yasha. I don't think this surprises anybody when I say this, but my number 2 for 2018 is The Favorite.
I am a person of honor, even if my station is not. Even if I were the last one left in this wretched place, I would remain a lady.
You're pretty when outraged. So my secrets are safe with you?
All of them.
Good.
Even your biggest secret.
Abigail? If you forget to load the pellet, the gun fires, makes a sound but releases no shot. It is a great jape, do you agree?
Yes.
Maybe we will think of a use for it one day. Sometimes it is hard to remember whether you have loaded the pellet or not. I do fear confusion and accidents.
I'm sure people will be careful.
Yeah, no, this film is unexpectedly better than I thought it was going to be. Like, and I went into this not with like high hopes, but I was like, man, this film there's a lot of chatter happening about this, and it's got some really freaking awesome actresses in it. So, this could be pretty good. Oh, that's who's writing it? Oh, okay. Those some good writers. Yeah, we'll see what happens. This movie just, oh God, so good. the storyline, the script, and honest to God, just, the screenplay for this, so ridiculously well written. The jokes, it's not like watching a comedy like we know of a comedy in the way we think of one. It's just, it's witty undercuts of another person for the most part. And it's just so smart, so intelligent, so awesome. And I think it captivates what, even back at this time frame, people were just people. People want to excel. People want to be loved and adored. And I think it really encapsulates a lot of what's true to the core of for the most part, most humans. Yeah, I cannot sing its praises enough. I think some people were a little bit perplexed at the ending, but I think overall this film is it is lovely. Olivia Colman, Rachel Weisz, and Emma Stone they make it, and it's amazing, and they own it, and I could not sing its praises any higher. It is so good, and everyone should see this film.
All right, good pick. The favorite, your number 2.
My number 2.
All right, guys.
This is it.
We are at our number 1 films of the year. And it's funny, too, as I continue to think, I keep thinking of other movies, and I'm like, wait, there was this other movie he mentioned that he loved. I swear to God, I've been sitting here thinking
Bobby loves most films he sees. Let's be honest.
He sees the most movies out of all of us.
He sees the most, and he loves most of them.
There has been films that he's like, the way he's talked about it, I'm like, oh man, easily his top 10.
Right.
Not on this list.
Right.
Well,
not even close. Yeah.
Well, David, you just hit the nail on the head. I've seen a lot of movies. In fact, I totaled it all up, and in 2018 I saw 84 movies. So like I said, it was a good year for movies to me. And so some of those movies that I mentioned,
I'm with you. Good year for movies.
So some of those movies I mentioned, I saw some other ones that have supplanted some of the ones that I really love. So yeah, that's kind of how things shook out, really.
Well, if you say Aquaman at number 1, we are definitely breaking up. We are done.
You're off this show.
All right, Bobby. Your number 1 film of 2018. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my number 1 really shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. That at least should have been in my top 10, and to have it at number 1, it's Avengers: Infinity War. And for me, just have always been a fan of comic books since I was a kid. Getting to see this story that Marvel has put together since the beginning with Iron Man, and having these franchises finally come together, was just like a dream of a kid coming true, and seeing this crossover done very well for me. And just the aspects of this being the story of Thanos, that when they first showed him in Avengers had me all geeked up, because it was a story that I would have loved to have seen as a kid, and getting to see it now is just everything that I ever had wanted, and seeing it done so well, seeing the interactions that you get with having Guardians of the Galaxy mixing in with the Avengers, and seeing the elements of like Thor and his interactions with the Guardians, or seeing Star-Lord with Iron Man, or Doctor Strange with Iron Man, just all these different characters that we've been introduced to, finally getting them together in one screen, and knowing how hard that had to have been to pull off, when there's so many ways it could have gone wrong, is just such a testament to what the Russo brothers and Kevin Feige and everyone at Marvel was able to do and carefully craft and make it a story that had people, in bewilderment when it ended, and to know that we're getting the ending to that, essentially, this whole long run when Endgame comes out in April, the end of April, which seems like it's just around the corner at this point. It's just so satisfying in this whatever way it ends. Just the lead up to it and getting Infinity War was just the creme de la creme of everything that they have been putting together, and now the Endgame will be the icing on the cake when it comes out. So yeah, my number one of 2018 is Avengers: Infinity War.
Very nice. All right, Avengers: Infinity War, Bobby's number one film. Yasha, it is time for your number one film of the year.
Wow. What do I say? Let's see. Number one movie of 2018. I mean, what can I say that really is anything different than what Bobby just said? Because we agree so much when it comes to so many different things. It's almost like he just speaks for me sometimes. And I think he feels the same way when it comes to certain movies, especially these comic book films. And I have since grown to absolutely love Avengers: Infinity War. I remember I felt a little nitpicky and whatnot when I first saw it. I have since watched it probably over a dozen times, or at least had it on in the background. And then when it was released on Netflix, that didn't change anything. I definitely started watching it again like I had never seen it before. I think the movie was fantastic. I mean, Bobby said it all. It's just, the culmination of 10 years in the making and planning and making this movie and getting it together. All these characters, all these A-list stars, all this talent coming together, and just everything just reaching what we've been waiting for and seeing it finally just happen. It was a lot of fun. And I still have a good time when I watch all these characters interact with each other. And it just didn't start as like one of my favorite movies. It was probably going to make my top 10 after watching it one time, but it has definitely grown into being the top 10 and number one movie over the course of the year. And I can't wait to see what happens in the second one.
Very nice pick. Also, Avengers: Infinity War, number one movie for Yasha. All right, I guess that means this is my turn. Bobby, do you know what this is?
Do I know what your number one is?
Yeah, I'm curious if you think you know. No, I mean, I'm not saying you have to say it. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michelle's giving me a look. Do you have any idea what I'm about to say?
I'm torn between two films.
Okay. So my number one film of the year is funny. When I put my list together, and I kind of said this before we started our list, like, hey, like, how was this year? And to me, there was a lot of really good films, but there weren't a lot of films that just really, really hit me and stood out. And, as I was putting it together, at first I had a hard time. Like, man, what? I mean, there's a lot of good films, but I could almost throw them in any order. Like, what is possibly my number one movie of the year? And I mean, Into the Spider-Verse was definitely like way up there. Yeah. I knew that, and that was possibly, okay, maybe that's my number one, but I wasn't sure about that. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, who am I kidding? Like, I loved this movie. Like, because this is definitely a movie. I watched it. I was like, that was fantastic. But that's not my number one movie of the year. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, no, that was an amazing movie. So my number one movie of the year is Mandy. And for those who have not seen or heard of Mandy, like, it basically, and I feel like I've heard this somewhere else, but it's perfect. Like, if you took Stanley Kubrick, and I'm not kidding, if you took Stanley Kubrick and he made a movie from based on like Fangoria magazine and Heavy Metal magazine put together, that's what Mandy is. Like, it's beautiful to look at. It is a work of art. And at the same time, it's insane and it's psychedelic, and it was a joy for me to watch. Like, the things I loved as a kid, the horror films I loved, like, and watching this film, I was like, this guy, this director, I get this guy. Like this, I absolutely love this movie. Never in a million years would I have thought Nick Cage would have been in my top 2 films of the year, but he was, and he is. Like, I can't recommend it enough. And no, this is not for everybody. I totally get that. There will be some people, I'm sure, that we might listen to this and, okay, I'll go watch Mandy. And then they might watch Mandy and go, wow, what is wrong with David? Like, what does that say about his mindset? But I thought this film was fantastic, and I even was like, I was hearing all the buzz about this movie throughout the year, or however, whenever it came out, and was like, oh, everyone's like buzzing about Mandy, really? Like, what is this? And when I finally watched it, I was like, I get it now. Like, this is a fantastic film. And then I also want to mention that I forgot or didn't know, and I'm watching the opening credits and listening to the score, and I'm like, oh my God, Johan Johansson scored this film. Then reminding me that we lost him very early this year, back in February, the composer of this film. He also scored Arrival. And
just such an amazing score. Oh my God.
And I mean, we've had a lot of celebrity deaths like over the past few years, like we always do. But man, that one hurts just
tragic.
Because so early in his scoring career. And such an amazing composer, and his score in Mandy is just essential to the feel of this movie. I can't imagine anybody else scoring this film.
Well, that's how Arrival is.
And that's how Arrival is. That score for Arrival is incredible. And this score, thank God he was able to score this movie. And it is so tragic to think that he is gone and that we will not hear another score from this man. And that bums me out. But anyway, yeah, Mandy, I loved Mandy. Bobby, I know you saw it, I think, pretty recently as well. I haven't heard what you thought of it, but yep. That's,
I mean, you said Mandy. I immediately just started Googling because I had never heard of this movie.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, what is he talking about?
Yasha, prepare yourself.
I saw Nicolas Cage, and I'm like, the fuck? Like, really?
Prepare yourself.
Did this even make it into the movie theaters? Like, I'm like I don't remember seeing this.
Brace yourself for some very serious gore.
Yeah, I mean, it's, for anybody who's even somewhat kind of follows his career, feels like, lately he's just been doing this kind of like almost direct to DVD kind of fare, and you look at this movie and maybe watch the trailer, and you might think this falls right in it, and no, like this is not a piece of shit. I'm telling you, like, this to me is a fantastic film, and it seems I'm not alone. A lot of people seem to really enjoy this movie.
It's popping up.
Yeah, I really liked it. And did I think I was going to throw this at number 1? No, but yeah, like I said, the more I thought about it, I was like, I've loved Mandy, and I gotta say it was easily probably the most enjoyable movie I watched all year. I liked it a lot. So yeah, Mandy's my number 1.
Yeah, I had a weird feeling that it was going to be in your top 10 just because of how positive you seemed to be after watching it. But then we were getting down the list, and then I also hadn't really gotten all of your thoughts on Hereditary either. And so I was thinking maybe your 1 would be Hereditary, but for a wild card, I was kind of thinking Mandy, but I was pretty certain it'd be Hereditary. So for you to say Mandy, I was like, wait, what? Well, at least it was one I was thinking, but yeah, I'm surprised. And I'm not surprised. You were very happy after watching that film. You were surprisingly happy about that film.
Yeah. No, yeah.
I mean, you described it pretty perfectly. Like, I mean, I'm looking at the poster, and you said it like death metal or metal-esque type of thing, and I'm looking at it like, yeah, that looks like the cover to a hardcore metal band. Like, it really
like
does.
An Iron Maiden.
Right.
Heavy
really
metal.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something straight from the 90s.
Like the 80s, yeah.
Yeah, 80s, I mean, yeah.
The movie reminds me...
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Josh.
No, I was going off topic, so go ahead.
The movie reminds me of... I don't know if you are familiar with it, David, but... Rob Zombie used to make these movies back in the day where it was like these people. I forget the name of those movies, but it was like very crazy and just sort of out there in terms of the tone and the style. And of course, the violence was over the top. But it was like these people went to some town, and it was filled with interesting characters. And I think Yasha has seen the movie as well. I just can't think of the name of it, but it had this feel to me that it was sort of like that, where it was just kind of insane. It was just insanity at certain points because of everything that was going on with that film, and the visual aspects to it, and the things that the director uses to help convey the story. I mean, there's points where there's animation in it as well, and it pieces all these different things together, and it feels like it's a movie that I can't imagine anyone else being in other than Nicolas Cage for whatever reason. It just seems like it suits him perfectly.
Yeah, no, all the craziness of Nick Cage gets to totally shine in this film. He's perfect for this. And it sounds like, I mean, this definitely, from my little bit of research after watching it, like, it wasn't like the director, and I probably will also pronounce his name poorly, Panos Cosmatos. He did not write it with Nick Cage in mind. In fact, I think Nick Cage had auditioned for the part of the cult leader, but pushed to be the main character in this film, and he got it. And I can't imagine him not being that part. He's perfect.
Oh God, you got me so interested now.
I'll be very curious to know what you think when you watch it. But the stuff I want to be serious though, the comparison to Stanley Kubrick, some of the shots in this movie, there's this one shot of him. He arrives at this guy's place, and he's standing there. It's almost like a hallway with these lights above him. There's a tiger in a cage over on the side, and this dude on the other end of this, I guess you want to call it again, a hallway of stuff. And I don't know, there's just something about this shot that I'm just like, God damn, this is just the way, it's just beautiful. I just loved it. I love this movie. So anyway, that's all I'm going to gush about Mandy. I'm done.
And real quick, the movie I was thinking of is House of a Thousand Corpses. By
okay. I was wondering if that's what you were thinking of, but I didn't say it.
Yeah.
Is it gory like that?
No, well.
At moments. I haven't seen House of the Thousand Corpses, sadly. I never saw it, but...
In moments. I wouldn't say the whole movie is like that.
No, all of Mandy is not just like a gore fest, but it definitely has its moments of gore. And I have not seen this director's only other film beyond The Black Rainbow, but I will definitely be seeing that movie. It's from 2010. The only reason I haven't flocked to already watch it is because I've been trying to watch all these other movies for this podcast, but I will definitely be watching that movie soon because I'm very curious to see how it is. So anyway, Mandy is my number one film. Michelle, what do you got for us? Your number one film of 2018.
I feel like a little bit of
bring us home.
A deflated tire over here after all that about Mandy. I'm like, man.
Bring us home, Michelle. Bring us home.
Well, my number one film is a film that I don't think is getting a lot of love until this evening, which makes me feel a lot better about my choice. But I'll be honest, I saw this film, and my excitement level after seeing this film and how happy I was with this film, I still have a lot of, I felt so good about it. And my number one pick for 2018 is A Quiet Place. I loved this film. I loved this film from beginning to end. I thought John Krasinski did a spectacular job. I think the storyline is inventive. I think the connection you see with his family is just amazing. I was on pins and needles at times in this film. I loved it. I really cannot. I have almost no negatives this film. I thought the score was really good. I think the way that they portrayed the creatures, or whatever you want to say, throughout the entire film, just the mystery behind them, so good. I really liked it. And some people would say that, you know, at the end of the film, it's very simplistic in how it defeats it. But you know what? I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with that the way that things in M. Night Shyamalan Signs were simplistic. I think I loved it. I walked out of this movie and I was just like, gosh darn, this film so early in the year just makes me feel so good, and just makes me, I feel like it's a breath of fresh air into a film genre of what it is and into film itself for the year. And I'm sad that it seems to not be getting on other people's lists for their top 10s. I don't think it's the film that's forgotten, but I feel like it's the film that everybody goes, oh, that was this year? Oh, I guess I didn't realize that, because it came out so early. But yeah, this film just, I loved it. Yeah, A Quiet Place, hands down, my favorite film this year for sure.
Very nice. All right. Yeah. That is our top 10
That's
of
the top
2018.
10.
That's it. It's over.
That's over.
We got a year until we get to do this again.
Let's talk honorable mentions.
All right. Yeah. I mean, we've been going on a bit long, but real quick.
We can do this fast.
Oh, no, we can do this fast. I mean, I want to go through all of our honorable mentions, and we can kind of quickly wrap up with any other things we want to bring up about this past year. Maybe anything we're looking forward to in 2019 real quick. But we'll just continue this order. Bobby, your honorable mentions, like you had already talked about, we talked about maybe doing longer lists, and I think all of us have kind of formed our honorable mentions as kind of an extension of our list if they went on longer. So what would be your 11 through whatever?
Yeah, so my 11 through 15, as it were, I'll read you my 11 through 15 and just list out my other honorable mentions that aren't in any particular order. But those movies are Black Panther, The Favorite, Creed 2, Hereditary, and 8th Grade are my 11 through 15. And some other honorable mentions are The Night Comes for Us, Ready Player One, Mid-90s, Overlord, Black Klansman, and Assassination Nation.
All right. Yasha, your honorable mentions?
Okay, I'll be brief. I'll list them. A lot of them, these are movies that you guys actually put in your top 10s, or a couple of them, I should say. But honorable mentions, and not in any particular order. I have Deadpool 2, Mission Impossible, Fallout, Venom, Solo, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Fantastic Beasts, and the Crimes of Grindelwald. Wish I Had list I kind of put out there just based off of some of the movies that I know that I wish I had seen, but I hadn't. The Green Book, The Mule, Super Troopers 2, Crazy Rich Asians, and Bad Times at the El Royale. And then I also put one more list together. Like I said, I'll be brief. I put together a what the fuck happened list just because these movies were just like so unbelievably bad. And I don't know what to say about it. The Girl in the Spider's Web is at the top of that list, followed by Robin Hood, Holmes and Watson, and Jurassic World are on my what the fuck happened list, where I'm just like, I was genuinely disappointed in leaving the theater to the point where I almost wanted to ask for my money back with each and every movie that I saw on that list.
Nice list. All right.
Thought you guys might enjoy that.
No, it's a solid one. Okay.
All right. For me, I guess you could say my honorable mentions. I actually have like 11 through 20 here. That's how many movies I had to struggle with. And some of these, some of these were on my top 10 at one point, and to push them off was like, fuck, like I can't believe I'm not putting this on my list. But 11, A Quiet Place, a movie that when I saw it early in the year, I loved that movie, and I still do. And nothing against it just because it didn't make my top 10. It's a great movie, but I had to put it here. Number 12, another movie I loved and I feel like is getting nowhere near enough attention, is Love, Simon. I really, really enjoyed that film. Number 13, a movie I saw recently, Ballad of Buster Scruggs, over on Netflix.
That one's good. That one's good.
It's a really good film from the Coen brothers. Number 14, First Reformed. I actually really enjoyed that film, and that's another movie I watched recently in my little marathon with Ethan Hawke. And I don't know. I really liked it. Number 15, A Star Is Born. That's a movie that, I think when we reviewed it, I was kind of like, it was good, but maybe I had my expectations a little high. But there's no doubt, like, the more I thought about it, the performances in that film are fantastic. The music's great. Maybe I have some problems with just kind of the latter part of the film, but overall, it's a solid movie. Black Panther at 16, Hereditary at 17, which I recently saw, and yes, it is. That's an interesting something horror movie, man. It's good though. Wildlife at number 18, a movie I expected you to mention at some point, Michelle. I was surprised you haven't.
I still have my things to go through.
Isle of Dogs at number 19, and Minding the Gap, the documentary, at number 20.
Oh, cool.
That's the rest of my list, basically. Michelle, how about you?
I think for me, so my list going, so from 11 is Wildlife. I really liked that one a lot. I went back and forth between it and A Star Is Born. I'll be honest. Like, it was kind of a hard one for me.
And real quick to mention, that's from actor, now director, Paul Dano, who also wrote it with Zoe Kazan.
Mm-hmm.
And it stars Jake Gyllenhaal and why am I blanking on her name right now?
And of course I went right off of it.
Anyway.
Wildlife was really good. Right. I really, really enjoyed it. It's funny. It's one of those things, like, you really enjoy coming of age films, i.e. 8th Grade and Love Simon, whatever. I kind of like films about families that are either making it through a situation or just starting to go through a situation. Like, I seem to love kind of those kind of films, and that's what this one kind of is.
Right.
And Paul Dano, I think this is his directorial debut.
I believe so. I could be wrong with that.
There's some shots in it that are beautiful and stunning. And I know, like, Yasha loves Paul Dano. And so I would definitely recommend for him to watch this, just because it's Paul Dano directing. And you can see his personality actually come out in this film. It's really amazing.
And Carey Mulligan was.
Carey Mulligan, that's it, yeah.
Paul Dano's pretty amazing, so I will definitely check
You need to write that down. Seriously, Yasha, Wildlife. It's really good. Anyways. And then I'll be honest, at Crazy Rich Asians, solid rom-com. I have not seen a solid rom-com in forever where the main character doesn't do some crazy loopy antic to make the storyline progress. Like, solid story there. So good. Acting, comedy, all good. And then it goes into Incredibles 2, Avengers Infinity War, Halloween was surprisingly really good for me. I was really happy with it. And yeah, I'm with Yasha on the WTF 2018. My biggest WTF 2018 is definitely Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I mean, is there much more I can say to that?
I mean, the whole movie the Fallen Kingdom is legitimately a very fitting I guess you would say subtitle, because
oh my God,
to have the movie come in as it did the year before, so fun and so fantastic, and then to have it fall from grace so epically quickly,
so hard.
I mean, it's so hard that it fell that fast, and you're just like, really, like that's what you decided to settle on when it came to doing the movie again. That's what you're like, yeah, that's a wrap. Good job, everybody. That's Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. All right, let's move on. Wait, what?
Right.
Seriously?
Yeah, for me, hands down, that was definitely my biggest WTF 2018. Yeah, and I will say the films I wish I could have seen, I'll be honest real quick, I really wish that I could have seen Isle of Dogs. I really do enjoy Wes Anderson a lot, and I'm really bummed that for whatever reasons I never got to see that one. It's going to be happening pretty soon. I want to see Widows. I keep hearing really great things about Widows, and again, just didn't happen. And there's a film that I don't think is getting a lot of love, but when it came out, it did, and I still really am curious about it, and that's Tully with Charlize Theron in it, and I'd really like to see that film. It's just one of those films, I don't know why, there's something about it that it looked really interesting. So those are my wish I could have seen and still will plan on see in the near future films.
Right. Okay, and then, I was just going to say one last thing. I was going to just kind of go back around the table. Any wrap up stuff like you just mentioned, Michelle, things you had missed, or anything you want to say about the rest of 2018 or 2019, Bobby?
Yeah, I didn't get to hit my list of things I didn't get to see, and it's pretty short, honestly. It's 2 movies I didn't get to see, is Love, Simon, and Tully. So those are the ones I didn't get a chance to see, and
you need to see
hopefully
Love,
we'll
Simon.
see fairly soon. Oh, I will.
Yeah,
Trust
it's
me,
good.
I will.
It's a good one.
It'll probably happen fairly soon. And then I guess my biggest disappointment, honestly, the one that I would say I was disappointed in the most, just because it seemed like it was carrying on from one that I liked previously, was the Jurassic World, because I like I like Jurassic World, but then the Fallen Kingdom just really was such a letdown. And yeah,
we're 3 for 4 on that one, apparently.
It really was, to me, the biggest disappointment in terms of my anticipation level and then what I ended up getting. So definitely for that. And I think that's it for the 2018.
Yasha, anything else to wrap this up?
No, I kind of went through it. I like I said, I breezed through it really quickly with my honorable mentions, wish I hads, and then my WTF what happened films. I think I just want to try and make a better effort to get out there and see some of the movies that don't necessarily have a huge push, like The Mule and The Green Book, and Crazy Rich Asians did get a big push after a while, but some of these other movies like Bad Times at the El Royale, I knew that it was going to be good, and I just didn't get a chance to go see it. So I guess that's kind of what I'll be trying to do with 2019. But I don't have anything really necessarily that I missed when it came to wrapping up my 2018 viewing.
Yeah, for me, I guess first with stuff I've missed, like I really wanted to see If Beale Street Could Talk.
Oh, that's another one I meant to mention. Yes.
Widows, I also didn't see. I feel like there's a few others that aren't coming to mind, like Searching I wanted to watch. That was on my list for this week, and it just didn't happen. Won't You Be My Neighbor, I didn't watch.
Yeah.
One movie I wanted to mention really quick, the last movie we watched right before this was Roma.
I was just about to ask you about that, actually.
I did watch Roma, not in the movie theater. I watched it on Netflix at home. But yeah, I got to say, I'm kind of with you, Bobby. Like, I remember what your review was, and I'm not saying it was a bad movie, but I don't really know that I understand the praise for
I
that
have to
film.
agree. I have to agree.
With that said, like the way he uses the camera and the way it looks is definitely something to watch. And I will say I've been thinking about it a lot since, so it has sat with me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, while I was watching it, I hesitate to use the word bored, but I was kind of bored with it. Like,
no, I was thinking the same thing. I kept going, oh, this shot's really amazing. Like the panning shots.
Just the panning, the constant panning
and
of
then,
these wide, shots of I don't know.
He would do these wide pan shots that were great. But then I also love the shots where he would just hold her in the dead center and just hold her while she's moving. And those were really great shots too, because it's this anticipation of, oh God, what is she going to see next? Oh God, what's going to happen next? And you're kind of waiting. And so those are really great shots. As a film as a whole, it's severely lacking as far as solid entertainment.
Yeah, I guess it just didn't affect me in a way I kind of expected.
I agree.
And it just really...
Not a bad film.
I didn't connect with it. It's not bad. It just... I don't know. I just didn't connect with it in the way I guess a lot of people are.
I'm with you and Bobby then, because I just felt like that while it being shot in black and white, I think was a really brilliant choice.
I agree.
And I think a lot of the shots that he has are really well done. Overall, the film's lacking a little bit in story.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Yeah, I could have used a few more close-ups or, something just to get me a little bit more closer to the characters per se. And it just felt distant because of the way it's shot.
And I think it's supposed to, but still, it felt almost too distant, almost too much of a backup from what was happening.
So yeah, that's one for me that with all the critical praise it's getting a lot of award buzz, and the Golden Globes it got. I'm just like, really? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it. I have to agree.
And I like some pretty artsy stuff, like and this did not. No, I just didn't connect to it. Yeah, I think for stuff I haven't seen, I think I've got most of that stuff. I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but yeah, when it comes to like the stuff for disappointments, there's no doubt Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom was just a huge like what the hell.
I mean, I didn't have my expectations high.
No, I didn't either, but it was just bad.
It was a bad film.
Like I like Jurassic World quite a bit, and I've always been I've been shocked. I've mentioned this before. Shocked to hear lately, like when people are like, "Oh, Jurassic World wasn't that good." I'm like, really? I mean, what did you think it was gonna be? Like, I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know, but then this was like, oh, see, now this is bad. And then, you know, I know we've talked about it recently, and I guess I'm a loner here. Michelle is too, but Aquaman, like, I'm sorry. I don't get it. Like, you know, like, in the more like I talk to people and on my friends on social media, oh man, it's great. I'm just like, okay.
No.
Like, I again feel like, did I watch another film? I don't understand. Like,
it's at 1 billion. So lots of people loving it.
Fucking kill me. Like, I do not get it, man. Like,
it's probably the two biggest question marks, as you mentioned, WTF. It probably would have been Aquaman making $1 billion and Venom making like $700 million.
Oh God, that's another. Oh,
and I mean, I haven't seen Venom, so I'm not gonna.
I can't pass judgment on Venom, but
I like both, so I can't say anything. But
something tells me I'll watch Venom and I'll probably be like, okay. More so than I was with Aquaman. I have a feeling I'll like it more than Aquaman.
I was going to say, you know what's funny? I bet you I'll enjoy Venom more than Aquaman. I almost can throw money on that.
I could see that.
I want to see it soon. I don't want to wait too long because then I'll just never see it or something. I don't know. But
anyways.
Yeah, I feel like there's probably a bunch of other disappointments I'm not thinking about. And those
I felt that way too.
Big ones that stand out right now. I'd kind of forgotten about Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. That's how much I hated that movie. I just was like, I just completely eliminated it from my brain. And then Yasha, you brought it up. I'm like, oh God, that's right.
Such a bad film. So bad.
The one other one, David, that I think you may have wanted to see it but didn't get a chance to is Suspiria.
Oh. God,
yeah,
thank
that's
you.
right.
Thank you.
That's the other one you really wanted to see. Was
actually,
Suspiria.
Of all the movies that I was trying to watch leading up to this, that was the one that actually bummed me out the most, which is funny. I forgot that I was not going to get a chance to watch because it's not available for digital release or anything yet, but it's not in theaters around here.
Yeah, it's out now.
So I really wanted to watch Suspiria. And
I can't wait to see what your thoughts are when you get a chance to hear your thoughts when you get a chance to see it.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see.
I'm really curious to hear what Yasha's thoughts are on The Favorite.
No, I
can't wait now, so I'm just like,
you got to see it, man.
Excited.
I'm
ready.
I think he'll kick himself and he'll wish that he had saw it earlier enough to put it on his top 10. Honestly.
Yeah. I have a feeling he'll be like, oh, that could have easily been somewhere in the top 10. Yeah. Anyways.
All right. Well, with that, unless anybody has anything else, I think it's time to wrap things up. We would love to hear from everyone out there. Please let us know what you think of the show. Let us know what your top 10 films are. And you can do that by emailing us. You can email us at feedback@flickereffect.com. You can reach out to us on Twitter at Flicker_effect or Instagram at the same account, Flicker_effect. You can also listen to these shows on YouTube, youtube.com/Flicker_effect. Again, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think of the show. Let us know what you think about all these movies we've talked about. And we're looking forward to it. With that, I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
I'm Yasha Wilson.
Michelle Hillard.
Thanks for listening.